Hello everyone, this is your friend from Naruto Audio Fanfics, and we are back once again with a brand new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was cast into the Marvel Universe by Kaguya, rising with Sakura and Hinata against Thanos and the Gods Part 2. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics like this. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's fanfic. Alright. So what I've managed to get out of our prisoners. Naruto took a deep breath. The Mandarin we have been watching on TV isn't the real Mandarin. Natasha stopped working on her computer, turning her head to the blonde boy. Not the real Mandarin. The Mandarin's an imposter. Something to that effect. Yeah. Naruto frowned. I interrogated that one guy the first caught in the machine gun nest. He knew quite a bit. And to think I thought Kurama was insane. Who? Natasha asked almost immediately. The boy took a sip of his water. Quickly waving her off, he tossed the bottle aside and smirked at the redhead. Nothing, sis. So, what's the play? The Mandarin we see is a fraud, like I thought. But the 10 rings and the bombings they're conducting are taking real lives. Can't help but assume the real Mandarin is out there. So, what do we do about this hot mess with the fake one? Natasha asked, raising a brow. And what the hell do we do about this supposed real one? We can't have 4 Avengers going after one guy when there are more bombings all over the world. It looks like we're gonna have to split up. Kakashi frowned. And here I was having fun. It sucks, don't it? Naruto chuckled. I see no other way around it either, Kakashi-sensei. Remember that botanist, the biochem scientist that I mentioned? The one that created Extremis? Yeah, what of her? Kakashi asked. Naruto paced for a few seconds. I can move faster than the speed of sound. You can fly too. What if we went back and searched for her and you can go full spy and search out AIM? Naruto, we don't have the evidence to truly search them. Natasha frowned. They have the backing of billionaires and other corporations. And Kakashi isn't a SHIELD agent. Naruto winked. Sound like a plan. Naruto, just know you're abandoning the mission. Natasha added. Fury's not gonna like that. Well, it won't be the first time I disobeyed orders. I'll see you in a bit, sis. Naruto's body exploded into a beautiful show of fiery gold. It was intense and felt like a million suns burning in their eyes. But even with how much it hurt, it felt calm and soothing. He was a beauty to behold with black seals spreading over his body. Like every time he activated his cloak, 9 Gudodama were born, floating behind him like a halo. Walking forward, he turned once last time to Natasha and Clint, the super spies. Naruto, remember what I said? Natasha smirked. 1 scoop of ice cream. The boy frowned in defeat. Can't you just overlook that for just this once? Nah, I don't think so, kiddo. Natasha beamed. Now get out of here. Whipping the tent flap out of his face, the flaming ball of golden fire walked ahead. Behind him, Kakashi was already activating his Susanoo. Energy flaked around the pair before fully igniting into what would be a gigantic light blue full body, equipped with wings, armor and a massive katana. The light blue man bent his knees, preparing to shoot into the sky. All the while, Naruto disappeared in a golden flash, shattering the sound barrier as he did. Several SHIELD agents of the camp watched with awe and shook where they stood. In the air, Naruto zoomed through international airspace, completely ignoring the laws that were pressed into his head since he first started training to be a SHIELD agent. While understandable, he found it rather boring and a complete waste of time to remember. Borders meant nothing to him when it came to saving the world from itself and from those abroad. Chuckling to himself, he found their squabbles far pettier than those of his time. Regardless, he continued on his gleaming warpath towards the United States, going Mach 8 and burning minimal chakra in doing so. At this speed, he would make it to the USA in just over an hour. Knowing Kakashi would take forever to follow him traditionally. Turning his head for just a few moments, he saw a great blue blur fire up into the atmosphere at such an incredibly blazing speed, Naruto almost didn't catch it. But what really caught him off guard? Kakashi disappeared completely, almost swirling out of existence. Cheater. Naruto smiled, feeling the wind beat against his face. Channeling more chakra into his cloak, he burst forward, creating a powerful shockwave of air and wind in his wake. Soon enough, The green and browns of continents and countries disappeared beneath him, replaced by the endless blue and shimmering sapphires of the Atlantic Ocean. It would only be a few more minutes before he arrived in American airspace, and that was when he'd have to be more careful. Already he felt he'd triggered a few of their alarms and air warnings. That was something the US government probably wouldn't like that at all. Kakashi snuck about, rolling silently against the steel grate floors. A kunai knife in one hand and another already gathering chakra. Below him, several squads of men had already marched by, completely unaware of his movements. He was quick and most paramount of all, silent. He wasn't entirely sure where he was, taking a stop in Atlanta, Georgia, taking the largest AIM facility he could find. Though it was hard to find it at first, asking around and a few internet searches got him exactly what he wanted. Wires and streaming cords stretched through the ceiling, almost like spider webs, trapping and constricting. There were gunmen below, suits, body armor beneath. This couldn't be just some think tank. Kakashi watched them continue through the halls, their shoes dancing, clicking and sliding against the polished and swept floors of the building. The men wore the standard attire of corrupt big business lackeys that Kakashi had grown too accustomed to researching and spying on. They talked into their earpieces, some even into watches, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible, but their terrible training made it too obvious to someone of his stature. He continued along, watching the individual groups of men as they turned into entire fireteams and squads. Their weapons also upgraded from simple handguns to machine pistols and submachine guns. There were few who even held high-end assault rifles of varying make and model. AR-15s, AKs, HKs, even the occasional ammo carrier. Kakashi wanted to chuckle when he saw the scrawniest of each fireteam covered in pouches and belts, without a doubt, armed to the teeth with ammunition of every caliber that the gunman might need. Nevertheless, the Hitaki moved along, crawling through the endless maze of darkness that weaved in and about the structure, following voices that cried commands and made harsh demands. In a place such as this, he wouldn't be surprised if those people were the leaders of the entire operation. I wonder, how many times do I have to tell you, Johnson? A harsh voice sounded. 3 sugars, 5 creams, you numbnut. Now get out of my face. The man, boy, described as Johnson disappeared in a hurried rush. Sweat poured down his brow, drenching the white shirt of the intern. Kakashi had to fight the chuckle building in his lungs. Now the man who sent the boy off in a trail of his own tears had returned to his coffee, a swirling tide of caramel browns and white lathery spread, dancing in spirals. The bald man took a sip before choking again and spitting it from his mouth. Turning to the sink in the room, he poured the contents into the drain, letting it splash in every which way. As soon as it emptied, he slammed the mug upon steel sink. The rumble echoed violently through the empty room. He could feel the rage in the collision. Honestly, it was getting funnier as the moments passed by. The man sighed loudly, roaring the name of the poor intern from before. Once again, Johnson arrived, sweating and forcing his smile as Kakashi could only assume had become a common appearance. All right, Johnson, I need you to clean this up. I want the break room spotless by break time, got it? The big ones are on their way here and I'd rather they don't get on my because you up. Now get to it. Kakashi, though, leaned in, chakra rushing to his ears. The man leaned close to the intern. Don't forget to change the coffee later. The big ones, I've heard, are from Hydra, coming to meet with the boss. If something goes wrong between us and those nutjobs, the boss said to dispose of them. Understood. Johnson nodded his head without batting an eye. Think it'll work? Of course it will. She said that it can be mixed with liquids without any sudden effects, though it'll make them thirsty and erratic. The man continued. If things go awry, keep giving them coffee, and if things go to plan, give them the coffee mixed with the extremis antitoxin. Surely it isn't too hard to mix them up, Johnson. Couldn't you have given me a better name? The man named Johnson scowled. Johnson sounds stupid as shit and so generic. Hydra isn't known for being creative artistic saps. Come on. Last mission before we're reassigned to the 10 rings or some shit like that. Pucker up, intern, I get to yell at you some more. The older man chuckled with a darkening smirk. Now get the out of my face, Johnson, and start cleaning this shit up. The older man puffed his chest, pushed the intern away and marched off like a man on a mission. As the door opened, a pair of employees, probably of the office jobs, living in their cubicles, parted terrified and shaking as the man, now confirmed as a boss in Hydra. How far is Hydra's reach? Kakashi listened intently as Johnson, the intern, wiped the coffee spills from the sink and the counter it was connected to. The ninja had to give it to these operatives, they sure knew how to keep images up. The damn intern was crying. Ah, Blake, he at it again. A suit-clad employee clapped the intern on the back. He's a real piece of work, isn't he? Why yeah. I just can't catch a break now, can I? The man now under the alias of Blake Johnson cried. All I do is make his coffee, screw it up and clean up his damn messes. I don't know if I can keep doing this. Oh, don't worry about it, bud. We all dealt with the high-strung asshole at one point. A part of me thinks that he's just mad because he hasn't a bitch in 100 years. He's backed up to head. Another man chuckled. It'll get better, Blake. If you need help, don't be afraid to ask. By the way, is the coffee done? Yeah, I'll keep your offer in mind. Just be careful though, the coffee's a little hot. Blake said offhandedly before continuing his menial task. Damn. Kakashi was dare say impressed. That's one hell of a performance. He had never seen someone act so genuine in their emotions, and still remain loyal to who their true allegiances lie with. But he could see the real problem in it all. The man worked for Hydra, and if they were this good at keeping their emotions, loyalties and beliefs so secret, they could be anywhere. Who knew who exactly the Hydra agent could truly be? He could be an assassin or an accomplished hacker for the organization, he didn't know. All he knew was that he wanted to get more information out the man. As the employees talked, joked and ate their snacks as they sat around the table without a care in the world. They talked about sports, their girlfriends, their families. It was a welcome surprise that made Kakashi wonder deeper of the rabbit hole he was afraid of entering. Not every employee could be Hydra, nor AIM thugs, nor could every one of them be associated with perpetuating terrorism. But with actors like Blake Johnson and his high-strung boss, it would be nearly impossible to point such people out from the crowd of faces. I wonder if Naruto can sense their negativity like he could for the Zetsu clones. Though how willing are these people going to be when, if, we ask to search and question them? I doubt SHIELD would let us just openly question their loyalties. Kakashi thought to himself, kneeling as he stared at the men in the break room. It could be possible though, just, not exactly the smartest of moves to make now. SHIELD holds protection of their own and the protection of freedoms that the world takes full advantage of. It would be counterproductive to throw it all away at the behest of one man, no matter how good he is. I am curious though, did Naruto come to the same conclusion? As if on cue, the employees dressed in suits and white dress shirts rose from their seats, bid the lone intern goodbye and left without another glance. At least they had the decency to throw their trash away. In a way, it reminded the shinobi of his time being in Anbu, being undercover and making attachments he had no intention of keeping. Such things meant nothing to him, but there were few occasions where the thought, not even the action, of betraying bonds he created, made him disgusted and sick to his stomach. Once the intern was alone, he moved swiftly with the swiftness of a skilled assassin. Lifting the coffee machines, he pulled a small metal contraption, spilling a strange orange liquid into the mixture, letting it dissolve. Letting his eyes drop to the coffee mug, the swirling browns glowed with a slight humming orange. Sighing at his actions, Blake turned on his heels, only to be greeted by the wide eyes of one of the employees. Jared, what are you doing back, so soon? Blake asked, slowly pacing toward the man. Jared ran a hand against his dark skin, trying to keep his own distance. I was just trying to get something that I left. Oh, Blake responded quickly, walking to the same table. Here, looking for this. The man named Jared reached forward, taking the badge from Blake's welcoming hand. His eyes trailed to Blake's before turning to the door. There was an awkward silence and Kakashi could feel the tension building. A part of him wanted to jump down and do something, but he knew that would risk throwing the entire operation out of the proverbial window. He needed to be swift enough to strike, but quiet enough to not alert any of the fireteams armed to the teeth patrolling the hallways and corridors beyond the doors. Speeding through a quick hand seal and narrowing his Sharingan eyes, he was prepared to use the replacement technique with the lone employee. Even if AIM would take notice of his actions, he would save an innocent man. As soon as Jared turned on his heels, Blake rushed forward, a dagger drawn from his dress shirt sleeve. Before he could dig the blade through Jared's shoulder, he disappeared in smoke. In his place, Kakashi, letting his armor activate, seemed like a menacing green and black monster of both metal and leather. The dagger clashed against a kunai knife, sharpened to perfection, sturdier than even the toughest of foundations. Blake's face paled when the smoke cleared. Why, you're an Avenger. The intern screamed. And you're going to give me all the answers I need, Hydra. You've got to be joking. Zooming through the sky, a golden beam plowed through the gathered clouds and blowing new helicopters off their course. The golden beam arched beautifully before turning straight for the courtyard of the mansion of none other than Anthony Stark, the Iron Man and Avenger. Once the beam smashed with the cobblestone and the tiles lining the mansion, the beam disappeared, leaving a glowing, flaming golden boy with flickering fire on his limbs and raising off his shoulders. His eyes glowed a light orange-yellow, with cross-slit pupils decorating the irides. Around his eyes, a thick eyeshadow, a deep orange in color. Shutting his eyes a few times, the golden cloak of fire disappeared, revealing a black form-fitting jumpsuit with orange trims. On either hip, a handgun, and against his tailbone, a pouch full of explosive tags, kunai and shuriken, should the situation arise. Walking forward with a practiced grace, he opened the glass doors, only to find the botanist he was looking for in the confused faces of Pepper Potts and Tony Stark. Oh, Golden Fox. To what do I owe the pleasure? Tony walked along taking Naruto's gloved hand. I thought you and Kakashi were in Afghanistan. Iran, but I don't think that's important at the moment. Naruto frowned. Hey, you. I have some questions I need to ask and you are going to answer them. What the hell is Extremis? Tony perked, his brows dancing softly. Extremis, what are you really doing here? The woman's eyes widened with terror. She shook in her heels and trench coat, eyes darting left and right for an escape. I don't care what I have to do, but you're going to tell me everything. Naruto looked at the woman with a glare. There are thousands if not hundreds of thousands of lives at stake here. The woman continued to count her options, staring at the people gathered. Pepper Potts rushed down the stairwell, her feet beating with each step. What are you talking about? This woman is in league with the Mandarin. Naruto hissed. In Iran, we came across several Hydra bases under the control of the Ten Rings, the same terrorist organization run by the supposed Mandarin we all saw on TV. Turns out, Tony, the Mandarin we see isn't the real one. What? The Stark suddenly felt a cold chill grow. That's not possible. The woman cried. The Mandarin is, oh no, what are they doing? All heads whipped back to find a live report of the mansion. Streaming through the sky, a rocket zoomed through with a fiery trail of flame and smoke following behind. Naruto's Biju cloak activated, covering him in black seals and golden flame, igniting his jumpsuit, elongating it to create blazing coattails. Levitating off the floor, Gudodama were born, shooting about and protecting the scientist and Pepper Potts, while the Mark 42 power armor rushed to his different limbs, activating. As the missile neared, golden chakra spread around the four men and women, bearing semblance to a gigantic fox head. The Stark and his compatriots calmed all of a sudden, no longer afraid, and Tony could swear his anxiety had calmed to non-existent. Suddenly, reality warped violently around the missile, tearing it in half before sucking the two halves into the strange void forming in midair. From the void, another singularity formed before the four, warping and shimmering the reality they had. Jumping from the void, Kakashi appeared, his arc reactor glowing and channeling energy to his armor pieces and trims. Miss me, Tony. Oh, my favorite ninja. Tony smiled within his armor. I'm right here, you know. Naruto grumbled. Kakashi-sensei. Let's kick their asses. No, Naruto, you and I can handle them. Kakashi, your armor and chakra powers can help these two escape without the fear of dropping one of them. Think you can get them out of harm's way? We're heroes, aren't we? Kakashi smiled. Fine then, Tony. Ready to kick some. Naruto gathered the Gudodama, letting the Hitaki grab the women. The Iron Man channeled his power to his repulsors, lifting off the floor. Let's go. Blasting forward, the pair zoomed through the air, dodging rockets, air-to-air missiles and even deflecting bullets. Tony came to a full stop, blasting a helicopter from the sky with his unibeam, while Naruto dived through a helicopter, using whatever his powers were, cleaving through the aircraft without a scratch being done to his body. The Uzumaki quickly whipped around, pulling his handguns from his holsters and quickly pulled his triggers, killing the pilots of a pair of helicopters trying to turn away and escape the fight. Tony zoomed, twisted and danced through the sky like lightning forking about. Taking a page from Naruto's book, he jabbed forward, using his Iron Man suit as an iron weight. The helicopter exploded on contact, completely eradicated of threats and opponents. Leveling out, he looked over to see a glowing boy beating a glowing bald man senselessly, though the man was beaming orange. Before the man could reach a peak of how orange he could glow, Naruto ripped his head off, tossing it aside. As soon as that happened, the glowing subsided, disappeared, and it looked like steam was flowing off the headless corpse. Hovering up to meet the shell-shocked Stark, Naruto simply nodded his head. What the hell, kid? Hey, working for SHIELD brought out the worst in me. Naruto responded with a shrug. I've done things in these last few months that very few agents have done in their entire careers. Not gonna say I don't regret it, but in the end, Tony, I have my mission, and that's to protect Earth from all who would threaten it. These crackheads that are trying so hard to throw our world into chaos are just the type of threat I intend to remove. Floating along, the boy stopped to meet his eyes with the glowing slits of the Iron Man. I may have grown cruel, but I'm still the same high schooler that you remember before the Battle of New York. Now, let's check up on that damned scientist. Blasting forward, the pair broke the sound barrier as they flew through the skies. With the helicopters decorating the bottom of the bay, the threat of the Mandarin moving on them any time soon was slim. Naruto watched as a great chakra shroud dissipated in the distance, knowing damn well who it was. Coming to a slow descent, the two heroes landed before an irate Pepper Potts, a terrified Maya Hansen, and the stoic tired half-lidded eyes of Kakashi Hatake. Damn it, Tony. What the hell is happening? Why did you tell the Mandarin where we live? How stupid could you be? Also, thank you, Kakashi, Naruto, you saved our lives and our house. And you, Miss Hansen, was it? Pepper walked up to the woman, her smile faltering with each step. Before any of the men could react, the woman lodged her fist into the scientist's face, breaking her nose the instant her knuckles made contact. You work with the Mandarin. You've got some nerve to try to come to my home and try to take Tony from me. Wow, Naruto nearly whispered to his male compatriots. Should we do something? And no, Tony answered. His eyes met with Kakashi's, trying to process what was happening. I kinda think this is turning better than I expected. I'm still mad at you. Kakashi smirked underneath his mask. Is it really though? Yup. She hasn't tried to shoot me yet. Tony chuckled. Alright, let's break this up. I think you've been shouting enough, Pepper. I don't think I've shouted enough. She roared. Miss Pepper, I think you've broken her nose enough. Naruto held her wrists, filtering enough natural chakra to calm her nerves. It won't be long before she's unrecognizable and forgets her name. We need answers from her, and we need them ASAP. Fine. The woman sighed in exasperation, running her fingers through her red hair, trying everything in her power to calm down. What do we do now? The Mandarin is going to keep sending men after you, Tony. No, he won't. The Stark responded. Maya, please, tell us what's happening here. I won't ask nicely again. Aldrich Killian, the founder of AIM. I don't know if you remember them. She responded with a tinge of heat. I started working with them sometime after you and I split. I needed money to fund my projects and extremists. Now here I am, working with a madman. I knew it. Naruto hissed. AIM should have been thoroughly investigated by SHIELD as soon as I brought it up to Fury. I thought it was strange that the guy was able to go from cripple walking like the hunchback of Notre Dame, to upright without any problems. No one else on Earth has chakra, so that was out of the question. He's not indexed, so SHIELD didn't even notice, or didn't care. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is a good movie. Kakashi piped, nodding in agreement with the blonde. Though I prefer The Fox and the Hound, a great story of friendship. To each their own. Notre Dame kinda spoke to me in a way. Naruto chuckled. Anyway, what did you manage to gather when you scouted the AIM facility in Atlanta? Atlanta. Maya gasped. Found Hydra among the AIM employees and even 10 Rings operatives, gunmen and the like. Kakashi frowned. I interrogated one of the Hydra agents and found that Hydra spans the world. Governments, agencies, terrorist organizations, and big business. They're everywhere. Then he killed himself with a cyanide pill. Old school, but effective. What is this? World War II. Tony sighed, running an armored hand against his sweat-covered face. Hydra. 10 rings, aim, we can't go across the country, romping and roving. Naruto. I'm certain Shield's pissy that their golden boy is here. I think Kakashi and I can handle this now. Go have fun cracking down on terrorists of Shield's making. Hey, you know it. Sensei. Tony. Ladies. I bid thee adieu. Blasting into a golden flame once again, he shot into the sky, breaking the sound barrier several times as he did, before exploding off into the distance, parting the clouds as he did. Now, tell us everything. That was too easy. Kakashi sighed in defeat, smashing the man's face against the stone fountain. Honestly, I thought this place would be filled with more people, judging how this is supposedly where the Mandarin makes his broadcasts. Yeah, I thought so too, but looks like we're both disappointed. Oh, look, someone across the courtyard. Tony smirked, lifting his hand. Kakashi drew up his handgun, eyes narrowing against the iron sights. You too, huh? Pulling the trigger, just as the Stark's hand repulsor activated, their targets were hit quickly and cleanly. Their bodies falling to the dirt or flying back, smashing into pillars and garden scenery. You've gotten way too good at that, I must say. I don't have a job, other than help you around your place and study. Some people need hobbies. Kakashi laughed. And my hobbies are somehow self-destructive. They reflect how you need some serious help. Besides, I was only relaying what Miss Potts thinks about your little pet projects. Kakashi shrugged. Want this one? You can have it him. Tony smiled. Pulling the trigger twice, 2 bullets riddled the bodyguard's chest, killing him before he hit the ground. As I was saying, spending all of your time making these different Iron Man suits are just your body trying to cope with the anxiety attacks you've been suffering from. How did you know? You were in Iran with Naruto. Pepper. The two men spoke in unison. Tony stopped for a moment, letting bullets riddle off of his body. She really thinks that. She doesn't think it. She knows it. The shinobi responded, hurling a pair of kunai through the air. The gunfire came to a halt as the sputtering of dying men sounded instead. Ah, we're here. Putting a hand on the door, Kakashi nodded at the Iron Man, handgun ready with a new magazine loaded, and a kunai knife already prepared to be drawn. With a quick motion, the door was blasted off of its hinges, showering the room in splinters and smoke. The gunmen inside were struck down, kunai in their throats and their chests. Tony filed into the room, punching whomever got in his way, his fists breaking even the strongest of industrial steel rifles. As the skirmish came to a close, they came to find a wrinkled, old man that bore semblance to the Mandarin they saw on TV. His nose, his hair, his eyes and his wrinkled lips, all familiar in their minds. Tony, without thinking, sped forward, putting his hands around the man's throat, shaking him against his chair, rattling the man like a toy. Tony. Kakashi grabbed the Iron Man, trying to calm him. Stop this. Don't kill him. This little piece of work is responsible for so many deaths and for putting Happy in the hospital. He deserves it all. This isn't the real Mandarin. Both turned to face the man, finding him snoring, sinking into his recliner. God damn it. What kind of asshat are we stuck with? Hey, wake up. Oh, did I miss anything? Goal. The man sputtered with an English accent, a stark contrast from the Oriental tone he used when threatening the United States on television. Oh bloody, can you move? I'm going to miss the game. Kakashi pulled his trigger once more, putting a few bullets through the television. The blasts woke a pair of women from the bed across the room. They screamed, jumped and ran about, letting their assets jiggle about. Turning their heads back to their prisoner, the damned man was asleep again, this time spilling his beer all over his clothing and the floor. All right, we're going to get nothing out of this douche. What should we do? Tony growled. Call some help. Calling can't hurt. Kakashi nodded. Though, oh look, he's awake. Nope. Put that phone down. No, I'm not calling anyone. The man chuckled once more, pulling the phone away from his face, trying his best from spilling more of his beer. I was just ordering pizza. You just said you weren't calling anyone. Anyone important? The man screeched a laugh, shaking in his flabs and against the recliner. Hee hee. Are you hungry? Pizza's on its way. There's beer in the cooler, oh, and my personal favorite. Kakashi slammed the man against the floor, his beer can flattening as he did. Listen up and listen well. I'm losing my patience and I'm about to put two in your kneecaps just for fun. But I need information, so until then, I'm going to keep you as healthy as can be. This will only hurt for a few moments, Tsukuyomi. Surrounding the fat man, his world turned into a myriad of colors, turning from natural beige and the strange assortments of shades for his collection of paintings, to a never-ending palette of crimson. Confused, he tried to move but found his arms and feet bound to a rock by the wrist and ankles. He tried to fight back, but it was to no avail. From the darkness and dreary crimson, Kakashi appeared, a kunai knife in hand. It took me a long time trying to learn this technique with absolutely no one but thugs on the streets to test it on. Now, I feel I've perfected it. Hopefully, you don't come out of this as a whimpering maniac. We can skip the entire process if you stop playing this ridiculous game of playing innocent and give me the information I want, got it? We can do this the easy way or the hard way. My name is Trevor Slattery, I'm an actor. The man replied. Should I say, failed actor? I needed a job because I was living in the streets, and I found this. They needed someone willing to stay discreet, and here I am, somewhere with the white fang. That's what they call you, you know. It's quite. A knife dug into his stomach, twisting and digging. If you go off tangent, talking about things I don't care for, I will repeat this process. 72 hours in this world is equal to a second on Earth. I have all the time to spare, you on the other hand. The man screamed, feeling knives dig into his flesh repeatedly. His world twisted and writhed, bearing hundreds of duplicates of his body and his captor. The blades extended into swords, clutched and bearing down into his flesh. But as the blades entered the flesh of his clones, he felt the pain himself. Each puncture, and with the tips of the silvery blades oozing with a strange energy, it was an agonizing pain, one that ripped and sent ripples through his flesh. He tried to fight back against his chains and at least try to punch the ninja holding him hostage, but the chains only tightened, pulling at his arms, twisting his joints and bones. Give me the answers I want, Trevor Slattery. Kakashi frowned. The pain has only just begun. Time trailed on. Trevor could feel his mind fading, darkening and returning. The blades turned to barbs, pulling at his flesh as the weapons were torn from his flesh. What made his suffering never ending? The wounds he gained would heal almost immediately, leaving nothing but his bare flesh to be torn. He stopped crying hours before, now he just screamed. Even then, his voice was as fleeting as his tears. Soon he wouldn't be able to scream. All right, Trevor whimpered pathetically. All right, the Mandarin is named Aldrich Killian, the big boss man of AIM. I'm just an actor. I already know this. Kakashi shouted, twisting the knives embedded in Trevor's chest and stomach. The man writhed against his binds, screaming and crying like an animal. Give me the location of Aldrich Killian. The docks. Trevor screamed. The docks. He should have already kidnapped the president by now. Thank you for your help. Kakashi smiled. The endless crimson and the swirling tides of clouds disappeared the instant the words were shared. In the real world, Kakashi looked to the gun-toting Tony Stark with a confident eye curl. Trevor, though, convulsed on the floor before throwing up the beer, chicken and other things he had stuffed down his intoxicated gullet. In a moment of reflex, the shinobi stomped on the man's skull, knocking him out completely. All right, Tony, turns out the bastard has targeted the president. I think you should call for some help. War machines available. I believe his name is Iron Patriot now. Tony shut his helmet mask. Like it really matters or anything. Let's just go. Not even my mask to shield me from how terrible his puke is. You really underestimate who I am. I'm the Reikiri. Blood sprayed like a broken shower cap. Kakashi's arm pierced the man's chest, ripping the pectorals into nothingness. The cells, the energy building within the man was cut short, absorbing the lightning, shortening out. The lightning roared, crinkling and burning the flesh and turning the once orange and pale, to a purple and black char. Aldrich tried to fight back, tried to feel his power within, but just as Kakashi pulled his arm from his chest, the man rushed forward, lodging his fist into the fool's chin, tearing the skin, shattering every bone in his neck. Shut the hell up, Aldrich. Tony scowled beneath his mask. This is the end for you. Opening his palm, the repulsors glowed, building energy at the epicenter. With a shout from the Iron Man and the supposed Mandarin, the man's face was burned open, plowed through and completely destroyed. The brain matter and the steaming remains of Extremis spread in every direction. The battle had shaken the battlefield. Almost 15 Extremis-enhanced individuals fought against the ninja and a small army of Iron Man suits. Of course, the Iron Patriot had reclaimed his armor and the president was saved at the end of it all, but in the wake of the battle, it felt far from a victory. Kakashi watched paramedics and police swarm the field. Some ran up to the ninja to ask for an autograph, completely ignoring the chaos around them. Tony had embraced his only love, Pepper Potts, who was saved before Aldrich could do anything truly substantial to her as his prisoner. With each Iron Man suit patrolling above them, Kakashi couldn't believe his eyes when the suits burst into smoke and flame, exploding like fireworks. What can I say, buddy? Tony laughed. You ninja don't play. You gave me a new chance, Kakashi. You saved my home, my life, my lady. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I owe you a lot for all that you've done. You don't owe me anything, Tony. Kakashi chuckled. What I did is what any friend would do if they could. Naruto crossed the entire world just to come and help. I did the same. If the rest of the Avengers weren't so caught up with the machinations of S.H.I.E.L.D., then maybe they too would have come to help. You're taking the idea of being an Avenger to heart, aren't you? Tony asked, his eyes trailing to the sky, watching the suits turn into flaming buckets of bolts. Kakashi sighed, putting a hand on the Stark's shoulder. It's my mission to give my all and everything to protect Earth. Yup. Heard the same spiel from the blondie. Not Point Break, but Goldilocks. Tony smirked. Protect Earth. What if we made avenging an official thing? What do you mean? Kakashi raised a brow. An official thing. Yeah, a private crime fighting, terrorist fighting force of remarkable people from all across the world, of all walks of life. Tony began, smiling as the thoughts continued. With the resources of Stark Industries and my genius intellect and your genius intellect, we could equip and arm the best of the best to help the world, the only way we know how. Tony, Kakashi, Pepper sighed, leaning into his armored chest. Please, for once, just let a victory mean drinks and sleep, let the future come naturally. Kakashi watched the battlefield turn into a celebration. People cheered and it wasn't long before the president made a public declaration, praising the work of the Avengers and of course, Iron Patriot and the Iron Man. Christmas came to an end and the new year was rolling close. People were returning home and families were reunited. For Kakashi's case though, the Avengers were mostly together again. In Tony's home, the likes of Naruto, Natasha Romanoff and even the elusive Captain Steve Rogers, were standing about, laughing and sharing drinks and stories of their year since New York. Sensei. Naruto looked over to the silver-haired man. I think we've done great for the first few months of acclimating here. Right. Kakashi smiled, lowering his mask for Naruto to see his face for the first time. Looking at them, living their lives, carefree, it's honestly relieving. Even with the horrible things that happened just a few weeks ago, we've all managed to move on and keep our minds and thoughts together without acting erratically. I must say, I'm mostly proud of you, Naruto. I must say, little brother, you've truly shown how strong and how smart you really are. This world, it's not prepared for you. Now you're just trying to make me blush. Naruto cackled. But I agree with every you've said. Killing isn't hard to do, it's what comes after that really ends up becoming the crucible. I found a way to cope with it, meditating and listening to music calms my nerves before and after battle. Natasha, Nei-chan, is far from what I expected and almost an exact opposite, personality-wise, of New York. Cap and the rest at S.H.I.E.L.D. aren't too bad either. To think, we got pulled into this by accident too. Accidents are just different paths to take before we reach our final goal. Kakashi nodded his head sagely. Indeed, sensei. Thought. I fear this is the last time we see each other together for a while. Might as well head back inside and enjoy the company before we come scarce. Go on in, Naruto, I'll catch up in a bit. Kakashi smiled, taking a sip of his alcohol. Feeling the door shut behind him, the Hitaki took a slow, heaving breath. Oh children, I wonder how you are doing. Are you safe? Are you being fed properly? Gods, help me. For decades, your organization stayed in the shadows hiding the truth. Now we know that they're among us, heroes and monsters. The world is full of wonders. The rising tide. So, what am I doing in the hub? Naruto asked, running a hand through his blonde hair. Beside him, the illustrious Philip Coulson kept his eyes planted on a tablet flashing with lights and pages bearing graphs, news and information of varying classification. You're an integral piece to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s plans, Naruto. Someone who can master several languages in a few weeks, meet Agent Romanov's and Agent Barton's records and figure even the most difficult of puzzles that even the most talented of hackers, analysts and… All right, Phil. Naruto chuckled. No need to stroke the shaft. Oh please, you're not Captain Rogers. Phil shook his head. The blonde snickered. Still angry your cards got messed up. It was a necessary sacrifice. The man painfully sighed. I spent many years building that deck. You're too attached to cards, friend. So, what's the mission? Espionage. Stopping a rogue nuclear bomb. Taking down a dictator. Funny, but no. The man shut the blonde down. You're only 19 years old, significantly younger than any agents. There are hundreds your age at the S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy that are probably enraged at your ascension. Ma, they can get mad all they want. My goal is to protect Earth. The two spoke in unison. Naruto turned to the bald agent, a glare on his whiskered face. Come on, Phil. Why'd you kill my thunder? Call it taking initiative. Suddenly, the elevator came to a hissing stop. Doors swung open revealing glass walls decorated with the eagle of S.H.I.E.L.D. Within the room's rows of computers and analysts were packed within. Some typed away while others were writing out reports. Nevertheless, their task, Naruto understood just how important even the most menial of jobs was to the greater machine. Walking through the corridors, he caught the whispers of a few female agents. As professional as they were supposed to be, he guessed it couldn't be helped. Having spent as much time with Agent Romanov as he did, he learned to be a little vain. There was nothing wrong with enjoying one's appearance. I'm assuming we're meeting someone here. Yes, I'm putting together a team of remarkable individuals. Naruto smirked. Rolling his eyes, the agent scoffed. Shut up, Naruto. Hee. Can't take the heat. Get out of the kitchen. The boy smirked. What are we dealing with? Demons this time. Aliens are getting kinda dull for someone of my skills. Don't get too ahead of yourself, Naruto. A familiar voice sounded in his ears. Blue eyes curled. Agent Maria Hill, it has been a while since the last time we saw each other. And you're taller and somewhat more vocal. Nobody changes that much in 6 months. Maria shook her head. Are you sure bringing Golden Boy along is a good idea, Phil? Of course. He was getting jittery fighting 10 rings and Daesh in the Middle East. He responded. Imagine a 19-year-old powerhouse like him trying to integrate into normal society. No way. This is a perfect chance for him to stretch his proverbial legs, wouldn't you agree? Naruto leaned against a chair, his sleeves creasing as he crossed his arms over his chest. Well, he's not wrong. Might as well go off into the world the right way. Fury's orders. And what clearance do you even have? Hill asked, putting her knuckles against her hips. Level 8 of course. Naruto gave her a smirk. Fury thought it would be in his best interests to keep me in the loop. Given my knowledge of the universe abroad and the information I can offer, not to mention my absolutely charming demeanor. He's spent too much time with Stark and the rest of the other Avengers. Phil shook his head in despair. Maria released an exasperated sigh. That explains a lot. Anyway, come, there's someone on their way here for a mission report and then he'll be released to you, Phil. Ah, so you pulled him out of France, I take it. Phil nodded with a smile. That's good. He shouldn't be much trouble, though there are concerns, Phil. The woman frowned. Come, let's go. You're the famous Golden Fox, I take it. A pleasure to meet an Avenger in the flesh. Agent Ward smiled warmly, shaking his hand. I think it's cool how you burst into golden fire. Likewise, and your Agent Grant Ward. I'm glad there are fans. Naruto smirked. I enjoyed reading your dossier during our wait. I especially love that you have no problems killing people, speaks a lot of your character. Ward stood silent for a moment. I'm screwing with you, dude. Naruto laughed. Come on. Mission briefing. Please wait for facial recognition. A voice called from the wall. The four agents stood still for a moment, letting their smiles and smirks loosen. All of a sudden, badges bearing their clearance levels appeared, along with their faces and pictures. Ward didn't believe that Naruto was already level 8, neither did Hill. The looks on their faces nearly made the blonde wonder cackle on the spot. Pulling the doors open, the group walked along, their shoes and in Naruto's case, his boots shuffled and beat against the carpeted floors. I can't believe you're really level 8. It took me years to make that rank. What can I say? Getting that rank was beyond easy for me. I lived a life at war since I was kid. Naruto shrugged. The training y'all do is pretty much a light workout for someone like me and Kakashi. No need to sweat about it. Y'all are doing great. When you're done tooting your own horn, let's get down to business. Phil moved the blonde along. Fine. Naruto held the door open for his fellow agents. After you. What are we dealing with? Grant asked, still unconvinced by their actions. Superheroes. Maria's response was simple. Clicking away at her keyboard, a video started to play on constant repeat. A man jumping from the highest floor of an old brick apartment in Los Angeles. The incredible thing of it, Naruto was amazed that the man did it without hurting himself or the woman he saved from the exploding building. There was something that didn't seem right with the entire ordeal. Kurama, everyone, what do you say about this? Naruto wondered. Doesn't seem natural. Not even Captain Rogers can do that. This is troubling. Kurama responded. It doesn't seem to be chakra either. We'd know if there was a chakra signature in the United States. I agree. Gyuki followed. Be cautious, Naruto. It might be something completely worse. Be alert. Snapping from his reverie, he came to find that the video was over and the two agents were already preparing to leave the briefing room. Hey, I'm gonna meet y'all in LA. There's something I need to check out. Wait, Naruto, you need to meet with the rest of the team. Naruto smirked. I'll meet them there. I'll be fine. You guys will be too, I'm sure. Let em know that I said hello. Walking through the glass doors, the boy nodded at the men and women he passed. Their heads turned and their eyes widened at his presence. Slowly but surely, his black jumpsuit began to catch on fire, small flames dancing off of his body. Several analysts and agents got up from their chairs and pulling their phones. After all, it was always a spectacle watching the great and famous Golden Fox activate his strange power. He continued through the building, slowly gathering chakra and drawing in his nature chakra. Bursting through the doors, his jumpsuit darkened bearing a large golden circle in the center of his abdominals. A floating cloak appeared as well, made completely of golden flames and black Magatama symbols drawn across his back. The fires only spread, brightening the halls and soon enough, the gargantuan hangar of the hub. He levitated, hovering forward with chakra whipping off of his body and seeping into his skin. Men and women, agents and flight personnel stopped what they were doing, staring with awe. Some pulled out their smartphones, snapping pictures of the blonde fireball as he floated along. Stopping just in the center of the great hangar, he looked at the men and women, smirking. His orange-gold eyes with slits and crosses for pupils scanned the area for miles for dangers above. The hangar doors opened, hissing as they did, revealing the beauty of morning and the warmth of sun above. Blasting into the sky, all that remained of his appearance was the thick trail of gold and the booming of thunder in the cloudless sky. Naruto zoomed through the United States airspace, breaking the sound barrier several times without any detrimental effects to his body. Within just an hour and a half, significantly faster than any supersonic planes that the militaries and flight companies of the world had, he arrived in Los Angeles, smashing into the mountainside holding the famous Hollywood sign. The boy held onto one of the letters still glowing orange with flames. All right, Kurama, Naruto said. Let's see what we can do with our chakra. Yeah, I'll send out a blast of chakra, you try to receive and triangulate. Kurama replied as he held a meditative pose. Chakra built within their stomachs before being expelled in great amounts. Energy unseen and impossible to sense wafted over the great city, phasing through even the thickest of walls and the longest of traffic jams on Law's horrible highways and roads. Did you sense anything familiar? Yup. It feels like the signatures that we got when we fought against that one guy with extremis. Naruto frowned. That's not good at all, is it? No, it isn't, Naruto. Kurama frowned as well, knowing just how ridiculous it was becoming. I'm sensing no more than 7 others with the power of extremis running through their veins and through another impossible to decipher. I'm going to keep tabs on that. I'll point out their locations. You just do the work, alright. Turning his Biju cloak off, he hovered along, lowering himself towards the city below. Cars packed the highways as they always did, and people filled the streets of the balmy city. Having visited during the summer, sometime around August, the heat smashed against the populace like no other. It surprised him that so many people would live in such a place, but it didn't bother him too much. Landing in the streets, he hid himself in a henge, completely inconspicuous. Wearing a black V-neck and jean joggers, the boy looked like any other young adult his age walking the streets of Los Angeles. His blonde hair seemed curled and swayed over, a stark contrast to his normal hairstyle. To top it off, his blue eyes were changed to green, creative decision, and his whisker marks were no more. To everyone else, he was a simple Californian. Coming to a stop just along some apartment complexes, something familiar filled his nose. It was a sizzling, burning kind of scent. One that the soldiers of AIM had when they healed from dismemberments and bullet wounds. It was atrocious and disgusting to feel, but a good sign of nefarious acts. Sliding past a few unknowing passers-by, he slipped into the apartment, finding youth dancing and partying on all floors. He had no comment. Pushing through multicolored hair strands and high heels and even the Chuck Taylor high tops, he climbed the stairwell, hearing the beating of music and booming of house and trance. Tunes and songs rippling against his chakra, almost like the sound distortion turrets used against Bruce when he went insane at his old university. Despite the smell of the dank riding high and spatters of chunky puke on the wooden floorboards, he could still sense the crippling spark and the cruel and bitter taste of extremis. Once more, fighting through the crowds, ignoring a few taps on his shoulder, flirtatious smirks and a few drunken kisses on his cheeks, he arrived at another stairwell, this time, sparsely populated. Aside from the couples leaning against the railings and wall corners, he had plenty of leg room to book it towards the source of the extremis. Did you really have to point this place out first? Naruto wondered. What? Kurama asked with feigned innocence. Gyuki chuckled. Maybe a party is what you need, Naruto. You've taken your job at SHIELD seriously and very well. You need to release and chill out for once. Matabi followed. You can't fight bad guys and crime and aliens all day, every day. Sometimes a break is what you need. Please, like this job as anything difficult. I consider finding Hydra bases and fighting the 10 rings cells a break. Naruto said. Believe me, I'd love to go and take a break. But whenever I go outside, it's the same thing all the time. Some idiot gets in a car crash. There's a protest for something incredibly menial. Someone gets wrongfully accused and the list goes on and on. I can't even go to a park to mediate without being accused of cultural appropriation. I'm not an American. I'm not of this time period. But hey, I guess I look the part. Regardless, being in the field, fighting and doing right is what makes my life, your lives, that much the better. But, don't you wanna swim and have fun? Saiken's childlike voice sounded all the more innocent. The ocean's right over there. And plenty of beautiful women with barely any clothes on. Shukaku giggled. And a lot of sand. Beach sand is nothing like desert sand, Shukaku. Naruto reminded. And I do want to have fun, Saiken, I just don't have the time to. I don't know, I feel my grocery list is far from complete. Bah, don't give me that punk-ass excuse. Kurama groaned, rolling his eyes. Your old sensei, Jiraiya always did the same thing. I have things I need to do, I have things I need to accomplish first. I am not going to have my container, my friend, become a moping machine that lacks reasonable relationships. Please, I have many reasonable relationships. I can count how many you have on one hand. Kurama deadpanned. There are 9 of you, so clearly, you've either got too many fingers, or you seriously downplay what you mean to me. Naruto cheekily smirked. Ah, that self-deprecation isn't good for your mental health, lil baby Foxy. There was a violent thrashing within his mindscape as water and metal floorings were ripped and thrown about. There was a vicious roaring and a screaming of death threats unending. Gyuki had the great Kyuubi trapped in his 8 tails, while Saiken bit down on his free arm. Shukaku was rolling about, cackling like the insane piece of work he was, and the rest of the Biju simply shook their heads in disappointment. Brat! Kurama roared. I'm gonna kill you the next time you come in the mindscape. Calling me a lil baby foxy, the gall. You're embarrassing yourself, Kurama. Gyuki sighed in despair. Stop being a lil baby foxy. Shukaku howled his laughter, choking on his own spit and sand as he did. Ha ha. Lil baby foxy. Ha ha. Shukaku. Several of the other Biju shouted. You're not making the situation any better. Oh, and you guys are. The sand demon was quick to remind. Let the lil baby foxy release some steam. If any of you psychopaths fight so hard that you give me a headache, it's Torii Gates for all of you. Naruto threatened. What? Matabi and Chome nearly shouted. That's not fair. You started it. It seems we have to do what we can to stop Kurama. Son Goku sighed in defeat. Naruto laughed softly as he climbed the flights of stairs. There was an occasional slap of a face and a shout coming from the corridors and hallways of the varying floors, but he continued on his warpath. There was even a slamming of a door with a few choice words spat as it happened. The people were so caught up in their tiny squabbles, he had to wonder, what the hell could this planet do to protect against Thanos and the coming threats beyond? Damn, maybe Sasuke was right about going off and finding Thanos ourselves. Naruto murmured. Even after the Battle of New York, the governments around the world, their only major contribution was how much they spent on keeping it under wraps and praising the Avengers without making any strides to properly build their defenses. Maybe someone has to take it into their own hands and make that happen, though I wonder who. Walking along, he arrived at the highest floor. The overbearing bitterness and harshness of the extremists permeated the walls and even the carpets beneath. We're here. He moved slowly, dispelling his henge. The black jumpsuit he wore camouflaged well with the shadows of the dimly lit hallway. Ominous and a cliché if he had any say about it. The doors of the floor were barred down and most likely chained from the other side, a classic move by bad guys with little creativity. Naruto rolled against the floor, not a sound to be heard, and drew his handgun, channeling chakra into the magazines he created. He leaned against the only door that didn't seem locked down like a bunker. Checking his magazines, he found that they were at full charge. He had to admit, taking a page out of Hydra's book seemed like a great idea. Unlimited energy turned to unlimited ammo and completely silent. Once the weapons were ready, he turned the bronze knob, slowly clicking the entrance about. All right, is everyone calm now? Yes, Kurama said. There are 4 people in there, Naruto. One of them is lathered in extremis and the other has it running through their bodies. Gonna rip their heads off again. No, there's something I want to try. Now isn't the time for test trials, Naruto. Matabi frowned. Well, how else are we going to know if this even works? Ripping that dude's head off was a little morbid. Tony couldn't look me in the eye for a week. Fine. Just be careful, the two-tailed cat warned. I will. Kicking the door open, he raised his sidearm. He pulled the trigger with incredible speed and impeccable accuracy. Hawkeye would be proud. Within 2 seconds, 2 lie unconscious and 1 dead before his glowing body could reach a climax. The last was shouting, while his body did its best to repair the damage of the chakra bullet. As his body glowed an orange fiery flame, Naruto slapped his right hand across the man's face, leaving a golden circle on his cheek. The rising pressure was immediately calmed, seeping into the seal. It wasn't long before he passed out completely, falling to the wooden floorboards, snoring as he did. Naruto holstered his gun, sighing at his handiwork. A pair of shadow clones popped into existence, quickly going to work and rummaging through the information lying about the lab. Incredible, a clone said with wonder. All of this research, it's almost perfecting Maya's handiwork. Though, there is something a little worrying. They've merged Chidori stuff with the extremis formula. No, that can't be. Naruto turned away from the snoring extremis soldier. What the is centipede? Oh. The 3 Narutos turned to the unconscious soldier. His arm had a giant centipede-looking contraption glowing with extremis formula in the different sections. It was a gruesome thing, grafted into their forearms and along their backs. Well, a clone chuckled uncomfortably. You said it, bud. Naruto nodded. All right boys, pack and grab, seal it into a scroll and let's clear out. I got some questions for these cracks. Welcome back, Naruto. Phil said with a small friendly smile. I take it you had some fun scouting the field. Agent Romanov told me all about your style of work. Why, of course I did. Naruto chuckled. It's bad to go into a field without surveying the land first. It's careless if I do say so myself. Well, I'm glad you're here. We found the one who recorded our superhero. Her name is Sky. She's a hacktivist, a member of the infamous Rising Tide. The ones who jeopardized Agent Ward's mission? Naruto asked. Yeah, they found information that shouldn't be found. Interesting. How'd she get caught up in this hot mess? Apparently, she was snooping around and felt that she could do something to help our super. Phil walked to an inconspicuous door. Agent Ward tried to break through her shell of sarcasm and deflective statements. Maybe you can take a shot at her. Hey, I'm always down to talk. The door swung open to reveal Agent Ward holding his head in annoyance. The girl, though, was a beautiful woman, leaning in her seat with a smug smirk on her face. Big brown eyes and long waving brunette hair. Truly she was someone he should take some time to know. Naruto smirked as he tapped the frustrated agent's shoulder. Hey, Agent Ward, you should take a break. I got this. It's fine, I can handle it. You're sweating. Dude, just go. I can get her to talk. Naruto took the man's seat. So, you're Sky, right? And you're the Golden Fox. She murmured. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm sitting in front of an Avenger. Incredible. Naruto smiled, leaning into his seat. Alright, let it out. I need to have a picture. The woman continued rambling. There's no way in any hell I'm not taking this chance. First things first, tell me what your deal is. Naruto said. We want to know why you've hacked our servers, why you've been following this kind fellow, Mike Peterson. You know something about this thing. How did you know his name? Sky nearly jumped from her seat. Just tell me. Naruto kept his kind smile. I want to know what your goal is. You've covered up New Mexico, Project Pegasus and Centipede. She glared. Centipede. Naruto wondered. That's what it's called. Sky crossed a leg over the other. What? Naruto smirked. I know you're good, but you're not that good. What do you know? Alright. I found out about Centipede not too long ago. It's a strange adrenal, super soldier serum, the Captain America type, made with extremis. Surely you know about that. Naruto answered. Of course, I watched the fall of AIM and the battle at Stark's mansion with a bucket of popcorn and a soda. She responded. Though, you ripping that guy's head off was super metal. And a necessary evil. Naruto shook his head. You know about Centipede and I know what it's made of. Do you know what its purpose is? Who supplies it and why? What makes you think it'll help Big Brother in the suits? I'm not asking you to help them. Help that man, Mike. Naruto said with a simple tone. Extremis will undoubtedly kill him, but I can definitely help. I've tried searching for people like him, but even then, there are just way too many people running around the city for me to catch them all by myself. And it's kinda illegal to use my powers to sweep the entire city. Call the Avengers then. I bet they'd be willing to help. Nah, I wouldn't bother them with something as menial as this. Naruto stood from his seat. Look, Sky, people need help and I'm going to help them to the best of my ability. There are other extremist labs strewn across the city and I will find them and destroy them. Helping Mike and others like him is extremely important. They're walking bombs. You're not like the other suits, are you? Sky asked. Nope. Not even a little. Naruto laughed. I don't belong to any nationality that y'all created. I don't fight for any flag or country. I fight for Earth and that means all the people, no matter their race and culture. Big Brother fights for the interests of their governing body. Then why work with them? Think of it as a way to stretch my legs within legal means. He said. Fighting crime, aliens and terrorists is fun and dandy. It'd be mighty difficult to do with governments and their armies after my hide. Wouldn't you agree? I can fly all over the world and do what I was born to do, to save and protect people. It's my life's calling. And I'm stuck in a van. Sky huffed. It must be great being that powerful. It's whatever. Naruto sat down once again. What would you do if you had this power? Is this an interrogation or are you trying to make friends? Sky wondered. The boy locked eyes with the woman, blue fiercely meeting brown. Hey, I'm just here for a good time. Being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is fun and all, but avenging. That's the real game. S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't the enemy, Sky, despite whatever it is that the rising tide and the rest of your hacktivist buddies may say. We're here to help. If you don't trust them, trust me. Sounds like a famous hack trying to convince a fan for some favors. Kinda sleazy. So, this is what Coulson meant by deflective statements. Naruto chuckled. You've got a clever head on you, Sky. Either way, whenever you're ready to talk, I'm willing to listen. Wait. The woman shot to her feet. If you're honest that you can help Mike, he's got a son. I swear it, Sky. Naruto smiled. Though, on one condition. Anything, I promise. A flash of red zipped through his blue eyes. Do not hack into shield servers again. Got it. The woman nodded her head feverishly. Why you got it? Opening the door, the pair walked through the massive cabin of the bus. In the control room, Agents Coulson, Melinda May and Ward were standing around the table, tapping away and projecting holograms and information. The three turned their heads immediately. Did you get her to talk? Ward asked, almost interested. It was easy. The boy waved the man off and stood beside Coulson, reaching and pointing at various points on the table. Right now, we have something to deal with. Is there a USB port on this thing? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small scroll. A flick of a wrist, the scroll unraveled, revealing rows and circles of calligraphy, hard to decipher and impossible to read. Channeling his chakra through the parchment, smoke popped, wafting through the air. In the place of the small clouds, binders, folders and case files appeared ready for their perusal. Among the binders, centipede information and important scientific research poured into notes and clearly defined drawings. Oh, how could I forget this guy? Coulson looked up, a brow raising with him. What do you mean this guy? Picking up another scroll, he unraveled it to show off a larger seal. This time the calligraphy came to reveal with word flesh in kanji. You're either an otaku or there's a reason you write in Japanese. Honey, my name means maelstrom. I'm far from a damned otaku. Naruto hissed. Sky raised her hands in defense. Wait, I thought Naruto meant some sort of fishcake. Kai. Naruto shouted. A larger puff of smoke appeared, blasting winds and particles in every direction. The four non-shinobi waved their hands about, forcing it out of their faces and eyes. Lying on the scroll, screaming muffled and gagged, a man was squirming like a caught fish. Wrapped around his body were more seals, likely the same impossible to read calligraphy latching upon his limbs, his chest and bound his wrists to his back. If Sky didn't know any better, she would have giggled and whispered shibari. Naruto released the seals, allowing the man to move his arms and legs, but his mouth was still shut. Picking the man up, he twisted him over, nearly pulling his arm from his sockets. Phil nearly felt his eyes fall from his head. What does that look like to you? A centipede, Ward murmured. Well, I'll be damned. In each segment of the Chidori spine that they used, a small chamber is filled with extremis formula. I can only assume Sky's man, Mike, has already used up at least one of the chambers. Naruto frowned. This guy though, he reminds me of the assholes I fought from AIM. Alright, Coulson, since you're the boss here, what do I do? I have no problems killing him on the spot, but I know you don't like working like that. He's not kidding, is he? Sky's face paled. Agent May watched with a careful eye. Judging by his performance of these last few months since the Battle of New York, he's already the third highest clearance level and he only just joined S.H.I.E.L.D. 6 months ago. Agent Ward watched the extremist soldier struggle under the Golden Fox's grip. Well, Sky shook violently. No need for that, Naruto. Coulson said. Release the man and we'll figure out what to do. Alrighty, no problemo. Naruto released the man's shoulder, letting the rest of the agents watch in awe as his arms glowed an orange light before reforming and healing from the damage. Before the prisoner could push himself off the ground, Naruto threw up a hand seal, activating the golden circle on the man's cheek, putting him to sleep and calming the raging extremist once again. So, wanna do something about this dude? He's heavy as shit. I'll have Fitzsimmons deal with him. They're stronger than they look. Phil turned his attention back to the screens. Naruto moved, crouching down and lifting the sleeping man over his shoulders. Throwing him onto a couch, the boy clapped his hands in victory. Well, that wasn't too hard, now was it? Oh, how could I forget? Naruto reached into a tactical pocket, pulling out a driver's license. Placing it against the table, information scanned and computed, revealing all the recorded information about their man Mike Peterson. Crossing his arms, Coulson read out his accolades and shortcomings. It was quite sad actually. The road to evil is paved by good intentions, Naruto remembered that saying well. Shutting his eyes for a moment, he wouldn't kill the man if he saw him. He didn't want another Obito running amok when he had something to do about. Who has the tech to do something like this though? Agent May asked. AIM collapsed and the men who created it were defeated. Well, the security footage was damaged and corrupted. It's hard to tell what's really happening here. Agent Simmons was ready to respond. Well, what if we had audio to go with the footage? Sky asked. All heads turned to the hacktivist. What? When I was spying out the place, I had my shotgun mic right out the window just before the blast. The digital files in my van. There was way too much background noise, but you could probably fix it up. The accented Fitzsimmons talked it out before quickly agreeing with bright smiles on their young faces. Phil turned to her with a curious glance. Your van's here. You were right, we couldn't decrypt the files. The files are coupled with the GPS system. Get my van back into that alleyway and we'll be back in business. Sky smirked proudly. All right, Agent May will escort you back. Phil turned around. Agent Ward, I want you to tail them just in case. And I have something I need to take care of. Naruto nodded. Coulson, I'll be back in a jiffy. 'Twas fun, but there are a few labs that remain that hold ludicrous amounts of extremis formula. I can sense it. If you say so. Phil turned back to his table. Just be ready to answer any call. You got it, boss. Naruto walked towards the vehicle bay of bus, his body already igniting with golden fire. Hovering off the platform, he flew forward at a slow pace, drawing the amazed eyes of the agents and Sky. Bringing his eyes up to the sky, he channeled a great burst of golden energy that turned clear as it spread out. Beating back to him were the souls of every man and woman living in the city. Over 3 million flames were ignited, flickering back to him. Though there were quite a few within that seemed different, flickering a different way as if belaying a secret power within. That's interesting. I'll need to investigate when I can. Naruto levitated higher, until the bus looked no bigger than an actual bus. So, there are several locations of large gatherings of souls tainted by extremis. Shadow clones can do this quick and cleanly. Chakra bullets and nothing else. Without even throwing a hand seal, a pair of shadow clones appeared beside him, both floating just as masterfully as he. So, you handle Santa Monica, I'll handle downtown and you handle the shit in Anaheim, Kappa C. Yeah. The first clone disappeared in a golden flash and trail in his wake, while the second blasted forward shattering the sound barrier as he did. These clones are getting more and more sarcastic as the days progress. I swear I'm gonna kick the next clones that thinks it wants to be a smartass. Naruto laughed to himself as he floated along towards the great skyscrapers towering over the LA horizon. Whatever, this is gonna be easy. Naruto burst through the door, this time hurling kunai and shuriken with deadly accuracy. Bodies fell and before those whimpering in their operating tables could even register what was happening, the scientists were dead and the guards were gurgling on their blood. He straightened, sighing at his handiwork. He was getting too good at this murder business. He stepped over the corpses pooling blood and trudged across the once pristine floorings. At least, he assumed they were pristine, else this was one hell of a shitty lab. Rummaging through stacks of case files and research papers, he and a pair of clones once again searched the lab for any clues as to who got their hands on extremis and decided to give it some undeserved upgrades. As well as searching for the Chidori stockpile, they had to get the spinal cords from somewhere. Whoever these people were, also had to be extremely well funded. Naruto snapped his fingers, trying to make a soft tune as he continued sifted through file after file, finding nothing of valuable importance, other than failed experiments and those who were still on the waiting list. Speaking of which, hey, what's happening? Why's the doctor's dead? No. Hey man, just calm down. The docs that were gonna put the centipede thing on you were psychopaths. Naruto put his hands on the man's shoulder. No. They were going to fix me. The man pleaded. I need my legs back and I need to go back to work or else. The boy sighed softly. If you really want to go back to work so badly, promise me that you'll never search for underground healing houses again. These places are sleazy and seedy as hell. Got it. I get it. Naruto placed his right hand on the man's forearm, channeling chakra upon contact. He shifted and convulsed for a few moments. Power unlike any other, for the man, rushed through his veins, bulging and turning a light translucent blue before fading completely and returning beneath the skin. The man hissed, groaned and shook under his binds and straps holding his limbs to the operating table. Once he calmed down, his heavy labored breaths turned calm and soft. He was no longer sweating, feeling his own body cool itself down. What did you do to me? The man asked softly. Naruto smiled. I gave you a hint of what power I have. It healed your legs and, in a way, made you stronger than before. You can go back to work now, or you can find yourself a higher calling. Higher calling. The man, now free from his binds, stared at the blonde boy with curiosity. Why, you're the golden fox. My daughter loves you. He smiled softly, rubbing his hand against his blonde locks. Yeah, almost everyone knows who I am in the big cities. What did you mean by higher calling? The man asked once more, his voice clear and mind steady. I mean helping us defend Earth and our people. Naruto smiled. You're totally random and I get that, but hey, you needed healing and I put you back on your feet. The Battle of New York was just the first round. They'll be coming once again, this time a whole lot stronger and a whole lot angrier. The Avengers can't do it on our own. Come on, there are only 9 of us right now. There's no way in hell we can fight off real alien invasions on our own. Okay, maybe I can, but it is tiring as hell. But I'm not a fighter. I'm just a steel mill worker. I'm no fighter. The man frowned. I don't know what I can do to help. No one's born a fighter. Naruto gave him a kind, reassuring smile. I'm not asking for your resume and cover letter right now. Just, if you ever feel like your job is absolute trash and you'd like to do something more, don't be afraid to call this number. They'll get you set up. What's your name anyway? Andy Martinez. Alright, Andy, you said you have a daughter, right? Naruto smiled. You should go to her as soon as possible. I won't hold you back any longer. The man slipped off the table and grabbed his walking cane, stumbling slightly as he did. Incredible. My legs, they're truly. Go, Andy. Naruto smiled. Remember. I promise, Golden Fox. Hopefully we see each other again. And with that, the man disappeared. Was that really necessary to open his chakra coils? Kurama asked with a roll of his eyes. What can I say? Some people just really need the right push. You opened his chakra coils, introducing him to a world that is both physically demanding and mentally straining. Congrats, you're a saint. The great fox scoffed. Hey, we need all the help we can get against Thanos. Naruto was quick to remind. 8 Avengers, and whenever Sasuke comes back, doesn't even the odds at all. Thanos has something we don't. He's got an army. Need I remind you, Runt? We practically won the Shinobi World War within a few hours of arriving. Kurama growled. You underestimate what chakra can do. Speaking of chakra, what if the Otsutsuki arrive? Now, that's a question worth asking. Kurama smiled. Otsutsuki, from what we can tell, weren't all as one connected group. We have given it some thought actually. Kagaya acted against their clan interests. Son Goku surmised. Apparently the White Zetsu were artificial humans grown from the Shinju as a means to stand against the Otsutsuki who would have come to eradicate Earth. Think there's a chance they could return. If they hear and sense chakra once again, especially with how you and your sensei have been using it, I give it no more than 5 years before they start concentrating on us again. The Yonbi continued. Maybe, Kurama, Naruto has the right idea. TCH. The fox nodded his head. Fine. But only those you think could really help. I don't want any good heart type people. What is it that you don't trust about Captain Rogers? I don't trust a man without a dark side. Regardless, you adorable bundle of fur, I will share chakra like the sage did, to those who I feel deserve it. I sensed his heart, it was pure but struggling. Naruto said. Even you can't deny that. I already agreed. Kurama turned around, shuffling with a disgruntled growl. You hurt his feelings. Isobu chuckled. Amazing. Kurama had at least a shred of decency to growl. My feelings are not hurt. You mangled avocado soup bowl. Yup. You hurt his feelings all right. Kokuo chuckled. Naruto-kun, you should hurry. I can sense police sirens in the distance. They're heading for Union Station. Think it'll be a good idea to recall your shadow clones. Think there's a problem. What problem needs two shadow clones and myself? That's fair. Kokuo sighed. Just hurry and destroy this place. Speeding through hand seals, suddenly, the entire floor burst into smoke, completely eradicating any trace of Extremis and the Chidori bone plates. Hovering above the now burning building, he sped through hand seals once more, channeling the chakra of Isobu and Seiken. With no more than a huff, he spit a powerful shower of water, dousing the raging fire, eating away at the plaster and brick until there was nothing more than charred wood, glowing embers and rising smoke. Let's get going then. He turned mid-air, speeding forward through the skyline of Los Angeles, ignoring the drones floating about and the men and women below with their smartphones snapping pictures of his visage. Slowing down just enough, he came to find a horde of police cars and police officers with their handguns and even few shotguns among them. Quickly speeding forward, he landed, cracking the asphalt and concrete as he did. Men and women shouted and even cheered at his arrival. Phil, I'm here. What's happening? Naruto. Phil asked, his voice coarse and he sounded out of breath. Good thing you showed up. Mike is putting up a fight. Let me handle this. Everyone stand down. Naruto shouted, running up the stairs and bursting through the glass doors with golden chakra radiating off of his body in droves. Agent Ward, stand down, now. But, Naruto. The man responded, a near hiss sounding in his voice. The golden boy deactivated his chakra cloak, standing before the men and women surrounding the fight. Just do as I say. No one has to die or get hurt. I got this. The golden fox. Mike managed to stutter. He was shaking and in great pain. It didn't take sage mode to feel his agony. I can't believe it. An Avenger. Yes, Mike. Naruto smiled, walking towards the shuddering man with hands open and inviting. It's me. I've heard a lot of things about you, Mike. How you were hit with hard times and struggled to make ends meet for yourself and most importantly, your son. What's his name? Ace. The man stiffened, feeling the Extremis speed into his bloodstream. His skin began to glow in a similar shade as the Extremis soldiers of AIM, putting Naruto on edge. You took him from me. We would never keep a father from his son, Mike. Naruto continued walking towards him. Blue eyes deep and oceanic, met with Mike's bloodshot and worried brown orbs. Just breathe, friend. I'm not here to hurt you. Don't lie to me, Mike shouted. I can see the police gathered outside and I can even see the sniper rifle posted on the building across the street. I wanted to be a hero. I wanted to save my family and help people. This thing is the only way I can truly help. Don't you see that? The system took everything from me all because of one injury. I did everything I could, but the government, the people on top kept taking everything from me and countless others just like me without caring 1 second what the fallout would be. You, tear families apart, not giving a damn about. Oh, what is he doing? Agent Ward could be heard shouting. Naruto. I don't think that's a good idea. Phil shouted, trying to reach for the blonde boy. Strong arms wrapped around Mike, holding him as he turned jittery. The serum slowly injecting itself into his bloodstream began to burn, searing into the blood vessels as it was absorbed into his organs and mind. He tried to fight the sensation, the heat and the pain, but to no avail. His body began to glow with a late summer hue of orange and deep yellows, burning beneath his thin epidermis. Mike tried to force the blonde boy off of him, but Naruto would not let go. Mike, you have Extremis flowing through your veins. You are going to die if you do not calm down. Naruto said. His voice was calm and held nothing but worry. Mike felt his eyes water as he stared at the young blonde. Let me help you. With my powers I can remove the Extremis from your body. But, my legs, my back. I can help with that too. Naruto nodded, breaking his embrace. You said you want to be a hero, yes. More than anything. Golden Fox. Mike fought the tears burning at the corners of his eyes, steaming as it danced against his glowing cheeks. Then calm down. Naruto nodded, pressing his forehead against Mike's own, feeling the endless beads of sweat struggling to cascade. Nature chakra flowed from Naruto, slowly seeping into Mike's own body, flooding his pores, into his skin and between the cells. Extremis screeched in his body, violently trying to force the man to his knees. But Naruto's serene expression filled the man with a new will to keep standing. Energy unlike any other, a healing and soothing cool washed over his howling body, fighting against the extremist serum rampaging his bloodstreams and veins and arteries. His aching heart even found reprieve, sensing just how beautiful the energy was. Mike couldn't find the words to explain what he was feeling. It was somewhere between euphoric and calming. While feeling submerged, he didn't feel like he was drowning under the weight of whatever was happening to him. The world, the watching eyes of terrified men and women no longer weighed upon his back and especially no longer felt so insulting. What happened beyond the little bubble he found himself in, mattered little. The peace, the tranquility and even the beauty in silence had never seemed too welcoming. Suddenly, the bubble of peace popped, bringing him back to the waking world. The painting of young boys and girls, men and women of varying color appearing in his vision. The small army of police standing at the entrance, their guns aimed at his person, along with the rest of the shield force waiting in reserve. Most of all, the golden fox, Naruto, stood before him, beaming a smile and holding his aching wrists with the utmost care. Now, Mike. Naruto nodded. You are free from extremists. The centipede crackled and hissed, ejecting itself from Mike's forearm and spinal cord. He groaned, feeling the needles and latches release his skin. It was foreign and almost a forgotten feeling, not having the device grafted to his flesh. Expecting blood and excruciating pain, he was surprised to see the markings and the cuts in his skin hiss and disappear as the seconds passed. What happened? Mike questioned, feeling lightheaded. I saved your life and gave you another chance to achieve your goal of becoming the hero you always wanted to be, if you accept. Naruto smiled. Anything. Mike fell to his knees. Anything to earn your forgiveness. Naruto knelt before the man, placing a hand on the man's shoulder. Join the Avengers. We can train you and teach you to harness your new abilities and most of all, you become a true hero. What do you say, Mike? He struggled to find the words. But I murdered an innocent man. And I've killed almost 30 scientists and bodyguards today just an hour ago, I guess you can call it even. Naruto sighed. No one's perfect. No one's innocent of crime. You will repay the family of the victim over time and you will serve your sentencing under the watchful eye of Hitaki Kakashi and Tony Stark, the leaders of the Avengers at the moment. Your son will be given shelter and protection during your training with someone you trust until you finish your punishment and become a true Avenger. This is the best offer I can give you. I accept. Mike bowed his head, holding Naruto's pants sleeves. Thank you, Golden Fox. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet, Mike. Naruto laughed. The training we're going to put you through will be the hardest you've ever experienced or will experience. You will find that the process to become an Avenger is beyond painful, but nothing will be more rewarding. I promise you. Alright, Agent Coulson. We're done here. Naruto smiled. Agents Ward and Fitz ran down the steps of the Union Station, coming to a stop at their group. I told y'all I had it handled. Next time, don't be so quick to put your finger on the trigger. Everyone can be reasoned with. You guys can go on without me. I have to drop this man off somewhere first. Kakashi mused. Putting the landline phone down, he turned to the Stark standing across the lab, researching away. I just got off the phone with a rather interesting person, Tony. Really? The Stark looked up from the Iron Legion he was welding. Who has the number to this place and how? I can take a guess as to how, and as for who, the man was named Andy Martinez, I believe. Kakashi took a deep breath, bringing up a holographic tablet, speeding through keys and bringing up a dossier of said man. Information, every social media post and even bank statements were brought up for their perusal. Tony crossed his arms over his chest, taking in the information of such an ordinary man. A steel mill worker, a father of one, divorced and struggling financially. But what caught his attention was that he was injured in a horrible accident on the job that left him crippled and unemployed since around the time of the Battle of New York. The Stark continued flipping through information and posts made by the man. He said he was saved by the Golden Fox in Los Angeles. Kakashi drawled. It says he was injured horribly while working, but he said the Naruto healed him of his ailments and now he can walk without issue. He also spoke of a higher calling offered to him by the same Golden Fox. Are you serious? Tony gave the shinobi a look. I know we're searching all over the world for more remarkable people, but sending random nobodies to the Avengers Tower isn't doing anyone any favors. Well, it does if they have chakra as well. Both men snapped at attention. A handgun was raised in Kakashi's hands, while an Iron Man gauntlet appeared around Tony's right arm. Both men froze when they caught sight of the Golden Boy smirking to himself, with a guest by his side. Naruto. What are you doing here? I can travel faster than the speed of sound and I can cross thousands of miles in just a few minutes. I'd be more surprised if I didn't show up often. Naruto chuckled. I brought a friend and I'm glad you've heard from Andy. Naruto. Care to explain the call and this guest of yours? Tony looked at the pair pointedly. Easy. Andy. He was about to be injected with extremis, so I saved him from the doctors about to ruin his life and I saved his life and gave him a new purpose. This man beside me was also in the same predicament. He was injured pretty badly, to near complete debilitation. But with my powers, I not only healed the damage done to his body, but I unlocked his chakra and coils. He has strong willpower and a steadfast spirit, Kakashi-sensei. His reserves are slightly larger than that of average Chunin-leveled shinobi. I sense incredible potential in him. But Naruto, do you understand what this could do to him or those he loves? Kakashi walked to the blonde. You can't just go around sharing chakra with random people. It's dangerous and careless. It's what even brought our time period into the mess it always found itself in. Too many people with chakra running amok brings the same tribal mentality that separated us to begin with. Since we know the dangers, we should train all we find and share our power with. Naruto was adamant. We have a chance to change the world and turn Earth into a true fortress against Thanos and the forces in the universe gunning for Kagaya's last bastion. Remember the mission, Kakashi-sensei. We all traveled time together for a reason. Kagaya trusted us to do this because she knew that we had the power to change the galaxy, the universe, damn it. The smallest of stones can make even the greatest of ripples, if tossed correctly. And Mike is the stone? Kakashi asked. Yes. Among many others. Naruto smiled. The Avengers, as small as we are skilled and incredibly powerful, but we cannot stop everything. 10 Rings is still at large. AIM, despite having collapsed, probably has remnants under dummy holdings and proxy companies that are still anonymous to us. Don't get me started on Hydra somehow appearing on our radar more often than not. Then we have Thanos, Kree, Skrull, Dark Elves, Angry Marauders, and don't get me started on the rest of the Otsutsuki clan. The rest of the Otsutsuki clan. Kakashi's eyes widened. There are more of them. I've been scouring the planet for any signs of our old civilization with very little records remaining. We did find an ancient cuneiform tablet that spoke of a horned goddess, but we barely managed to transcribe it. The tailed beasts and I talked about it and came to the conclusion that Kagaya was far from the only Otsutsuki. With how we're using chakra again and reminding the universe that Kagaya's children have returned, we determined that no more than 5 more years remained before the rest of the Otsutsuki caught wind of our power and returned to Earth. Otsutsuki, Kree, Skrull, Dark Elves. Tony repeated the names. I know of Thanos. Daria wouldn't shut up about him before the Battle of New York. But the rest of these, what the hell? What are you talking about? Oh god, this is gonna take a long time to explain. Naruto ran a hand against his face. Mike, you don't mind taking a seat, How do I begin? So, Tony felt his world shaking where he sat. You're telling me that the moon was created from some super powerful technique that sealed Kagaya and this supposed super beast, the 10-tailed beast, which is apparently also a tree. I see. Do you understand how insane that sounds? It goes against science, history, and physics. You're going to talk about physics and sciences, when we have chakra, a visible energy that can create giant men, multiply myself, create elements and everything else you saw at the Battle of New York. Tony, it's a little late for rationale when you've already seen the nonsense that we can do. But, why? How? Tony shuddered. Kagaya went against what her clan, the Otsutsuki, demanded. Naruto frowned. Earth was young and filled with warring kingdoms and empires and tribes. Regardless of the state of affairs, she fell in love with the world and the people living on it and didn't want to use the Shinju, the god tree, to kill the planet. From the Shinju, chakra fruit is born once every 1,000 years, a time frame she had no problem waiting on. Needless to say, she took the fruit, and took to the stars when Kree visited different continents and did things to the people living there. From what we know, she used the army she cultivated from the Shinju and her own godlike powers to fight off the Kree invasion and occupation that lasted no more than 3 decades. Kakashi added. Then for the next few hundred years, letting the world repopulate and fill with new subjects, she took to the stars, meeting Asgardians and befriending them. She helped in their war against the Dark Elves. While defeating them, they were not extinct. Then she moved on, fighting Skrull, skin-changing aliens that can take any form. Naruto said. She fought them too, faced the Kree in their own colonies and destroyed several planets trying to bring them to submit. She turned her attention to various fleets of roving pirates, marauders and minor empires in the stars, destroying them wherever they were, even turning some of the greatest threats the galaxy had ever seen, away in fear with their proverbial tails between their legs. When she returned to Earth though, fearing the Asgardians and their infamous field marshal, she closed off the planet and even tried to hide Earth from the eyes of the various races and species populating the galaxy. Shortly afterward, she began to consolidate her power, but her sons turned on her when she turned into a tyrant, murdering her own subjects and sucking the chakra from their bodies to fuel the Shinju. Then afterwards, she was sealed into what became the moon along with the 10-tailed beast. Tony and Mike sat in their chairs, completely silent. Their eyes trailed from the shinobi to the glass panes beneath their feet. There was an awkward silence that hung over the group, filling the room with a dreadful worry. I know it sounds crazy. Crazy doesn't begin to describe what we just heard. Mike said. It's a lot to take in, but I'm ready to follow in her footsteps. You said I could become a hero. If there are threats like those I just heard, roaming the stars and would eventually come to Earth, I need to start training as soon as possible. What right do I have to sit idle by? I like him. Kakashi smiled. He's got spirit. See. Naruto smiled back. Good, Mike. For now, find a dorm and rest. No need to pull a hamstring or overexert yourself now that you've only just begun. But, Mike reached for the blonde already beginning to walk away. Mike, get yourself acquainted with the Avengers Tower. Tony nodded. Jarvis will direct you towards the dormitories in the floor beneath us. Right this way, Mr. Peterson. No need to be alarmed. I am the AI who runs this building. I am glad to be of service. An accented voice sounded from the walls, ceiling and floor, nearly causing Mike to stumble and crash over his own weight. Don't be alarmed, sir. Take a few breaths to acclimate to the new scenery. The man rose from his seat and nodded at the Avengers, shuffling along the glass floor and left the three to their devices. Now that he disappeared toward the elevator, Tony turned his attention to the pair of shinobi thinking to themselves. So, gods and aliens, said the Stark, careful of what he was saying. I'm on the right track, yeah. As simple as it could get, Tony. Naruto said. They are coming, even you know that. What you and I don't know though, is the exact magnitude of the invasion we're going to face. I'm sorry we didn't tell you this beforehand, we both felt it would be too much for you to handle. Too much to handle, no kidding. Tony chuckled. I never thought I'd say that I'm going to raise an army of superpowered men and women to fight back against extraterrestrial beings and gods. Honestly, who would have thought? Not me. Naruto frowned. We shouldn't have even been in this time period, but things happen for a reason. We have been given a new chance to give Earth a fighting chance against the forces that would wish for vengeance against Kagaya and the things she did to the galactic civilizations. It shouldn't be much of a surprise as to why Asgard watches over Earth so closely that they would send Thor and several other Asgardians to the planet. King Bor and later, King Odin were allies of Kagaya before her fall. And now, we have Thor. Tony nodded. So, what does this mean? Super alliance time with the Asgardians now that you guys are really showing yourselves off to the rest of the universe. Doesn't that invite the enemies that Kagaya faced to Earth? It kinda defeats the point if you ask me. Good thing we aren't asking, Tony. Naruto said with a stern tone. We had this mission from the start. We knew what we were going to be fighting for. It's about time that the rest of the Avengers realize that too. You said it to Loki yourself. Even if we can't save the Earth, we're damn well going to avenge it. No matter the cost, Tony. The Stark sighed in defeat, running a hand through his short brown hair. Fine. How much space should I make in the tower? I assume you're going to continue searching for new recruits. Kakashi and I will be as well, but seriously, how many? Naruto laughed. I don't know yet. Just be prepared for enough. The heck is enough supposed to mean? Tony gave the boy a confused expression. The boy rose from his seat and began to glow, bursting into golden fire. Levitating softly, he hovered towards the windows overlooking the great expanse of skyscrapers and towers rising through the clouds, glowing with different colors on each floor, lined with white, orange and even a few reds. Curtains draped on many windows while some were drawn, revealing to his orange eyes everything to be seen, both vanilla and kinked. He shuddered at some of the things he saw. Tony, you worry too much. It's going to be fine. Just breathe and calm down. Naruto laughed heartily. We'll fine. How the hell? Naruto wondered. Kurama. Everyone, this sensation, it feels familiar. It's the same signature as the Shinju, Naruto-kun. Kokuo worried. How did a piece of the Shinju survive this long without destroying the entire world? Who knows? Just find it and destroy it, Naruto. Kurama shouted. I'm sensing several hundred negative auras throughout the jungle. Yeah, I sense them too. Naruto frowned. I'm gonna resort to just sage mode. No need announcing to people who want my dead that I'm in town. Dropping from a tree branch, he landed in silence, letting the leaves be his only hint of being in the area. The golden cloak he had dissipated, leaving nothing but his camouflage-colored fatigues. He moved swiftly through the jungle floor, without even slapping stray branches of bushes and the foliage which was hard enough to judge and figure. He ran for a few minutes, sensing more negative spirits dotting the thick jungle, some in small pockets, while others congregated together in the hundreds. While he had no problem fighting them all, he knew it would be a waste of his time. While the uneducated fought amongst themselves over their small and petty differences, the piece of the Shinju was sucking the life out of the area, slowly killing the very soil they walked upon, the land that the Amazon rainforest depended on. Coming to a halt, he found a great cliff face that towered into the sky, even reaching the canopies of the rainforest trees that already seemed like skyscrapers. Naruto popped his neck, channeling his chakra once more, sending it in small unnoticeable waves. The source of the Shinju chakra was growing stronger, but the great wall of stone was in his way, completely stopping him from continuing his trek. Staring at the barrier, he simply jumped upon it, channeling chakra to his feet. He marched upwards, ignoring the chipping stone under his sandals and the cracking steps that he took. The power of the Shinju grew and felt toxic to the breath, an incredible, impossibly painful experience. Thankfully, he was an Uzumaki and powered by sage chakra. The toxicity was nothing more than a mild migraine and nauseating feeling. Continuing up the great cliff, he arrived at the summit, struggling to find his footing and steadiness. 9 Gudodama were borne behind him with 2 extending into staves. Chakra exploded in every direction, responding to his rippling energy. Trees and leaves rustled at the summit, keeping the boy on edge. I can sense you, Naruto shouted. Your negativity is almost palpable. Suddenly, a pair of kunai, rusted and on the verge of shattering, shot from the jungle tree line. Bringing his staves about, the 2 kunai were blocked and sent flying in opposite directions. The venerated tips of the once beautiful weapons were broken completely, clanking against the stone ground before tumbling off the edge of the cliff. Bringing his attention around, he smashed a staff into the visage of a familiar face. A man with pale white skin and yellow eyes screamed in agony as the black Gudodama weapon burned through his flesh. The green strands of hair burned and melted with the skin, smelling of singeing flesh. He quickly kicked the dead Zetsu clone, sending him back into a tree, before the corpse became one. This is reminding me of the war. Just what I need. The piece of the Shinju has been making Zetsu clones all this time. Naruto growled under his breath. Turning the Gudodama into nothing more than balls once again, he engaged a pair of Zetsu clones with taijutsu, punching, kicking and blocking each jab and kick from the green-haired pale beings. He ducked, lodging his fist into a Zetsu's chin, shattering its neck and killing it before it could hit the floor. Naruto whipped around, stabbing, slashing and cutting the clones that decided to surround him. While he wasn't exactly expecting this type of resistance, it was a welcome surprise. Grabbing a lone clone, he wrapped his arms around its neck, turning golden. With nothing more than a grunt, he ripped its head off, tossing the offending appendage away. Pushing the headless corpse away, he stepped over it as it collapsed to the dirt, limp as a sack of potatoes. Marching along, he didn't even acknowledge the remaining Zetsu cowering in fear of his golden image. All right, Shinju, you bastard. Naruto hissed, reaching out, placing his hand on a large stocky root. It was the source of the negativity, the agonizing rage and hatred. It was a place that even he started to wonder what reason he would need to ever enter such a place. The amount of power radiating from just the root really brought back memories of just how powerful the Jubi was. The sheer, raw amount of chakra it possessed was beyond comprehension. It's time for you to die. Before he could place his hands on the root, his entire world vanished. The infinite shades of green disappeared. The browns of dirt and the silvers of stone were no more. All that remained in front of him was darkness and the faint twinkling of stars in the very distance. He didn't know what to make of this nonsense. It was too much for him on the weekend. Gazing at the constellations taking shape and even patterns that he couldn't discern were in the void of night, and endless scene of waxing and waning images. From the shadows though, the clouds in the distant made of celestial gases and the twinkling night converged into one silhouette. Naruto couldn't believe what he was seeing. The silhouette had low-hanging hair, clinging close to a slim jawline, almost curling as it did. The being's face was pale as color began to fill the lines. His attire though, was something that left much to desire. He looked like the Nara period Japan threw up all over him. Who are you? Naruto asked, glaring at the silhouette. And what the hell did you do to me? Uzumaki Naruto, the man said, his voice becoming no more than an ominous echo. I have been asleep for many untold generations, waiting for your return. You know who I am. The man made no motion signifying his attention. I do. I have seen you, Uchiha Sasuke, Hitaki Kakashi and Haruno Sakura in my dreams. Timeless and eternal, I waited for your return and arrival to reality. What may seem no more than a few years passing though the Kamui and Uchiha Sasuke's teleportation jutsu, millennia of tremendous proportions have passed us by. Naruto didn't know how to respond. And you waited for the perfect moment to know when we were coming. I did. The man finally acknowledged the question, nodding as he spoke. My dreams are prophetic and haven't failed me once. I used power indescribably to hide our ancestor, Kagaya, and her last bastion to await your arrival. As time passed us by and you fought through the ages, Earth changed in ways you cannot recognize, continents shifted and even the universe forgot Earth's existence. I did what I could to stop the rampaging wars and even tried to stop a meteor of vibranium, but I couldn't. My clan and I have watched Earth awaiting the return of Kagaya's last hope. Are you going to tell me your name, or? Naruto raised a brow. You're giving me a history lesson I have no context for. And clan. Our ancestor. Who are you, dude? I am Utsutsuki Tonari. The man responded. Opening his eyes, Naruto saw nothing but empty veins and blood vessels. The flesh of what once were the inner eye socket was dry and black. It's a pleasure to finally meet the sage of the six paths in the flesh. I'm not the sage. Yet. Alright. What do you want from me, Tonari? Naruto asked, channeling the golden flames of his six paths sage mode. You didn't tell me all of this to stroke your healing powers, Tonari said. I need my eyes, Naruto. You can give me what I seek and I can give you what you seek. And what is it that I'm seeking, Tonari? The golden boy asked. Even if you've watched my every move with your prophetic dreams, you can't possibly know what I want. You want security, Naruto. You can only do so much, no matter how much you try to play it off. You travel nation to nation, fighting crime lords, syndicates, terrorists, cultists, rapists, murderers and traffickers and even topple dictatorship. The funny thing about it, Naruto, is that no matter how many people you bring down, how many people you stop and defeat, someone always takes their place. You want to protect Earth, but you fear Earth doesn't want to protect itself. What are you implying, Tonari? Our worst fears. The man responded. I need my eyes back and you will understand everything, Naruto. You can't just leave me at that. The Utsutsuki are coming, Naruto. I fear they'll be coming a lot sooner than you originally thought. Tonari began. If we are to protect Earth from both Thanos and all the alien empires abroad, and the Utsutsuki who wish to eradicate any trace of Kagaya's rebellion, you need to do more than pick and choose specific men and women who use chakra. You will need to do more than split your team. You need friends and allies both on Earth and abroad. And you want to do that? Naruto asked. Look, we're trying to protect Earth. We're superheroes with superpowers. It doesn't mean that there are aliens and godlike beings that wouldn't destroy us in our entirety. Build that army of shinobi like you were. Tonari said. But please, give me my eyes back. I can help you. Where are you? Tonari chuckled softly, looking away. I'm on the moon. Suddenly, the darkness and the colors reverted, sucking into a dark hole in the middle of nothingness itself. As the stars and the gases floating by warped and twisted, the great Shinju root appeared and the vast greens and thick luscious canopies were all he could see. Upon the cerulean canvas that was the sky, great billowing clouds covered much of the venerated azure, dark and heavy with rain. Naruto shuddered heavily, almost feeling a slight churning to his stomach. He can't be serious, Naruto wondered. The moon. I wouldn't be surprised, kid. Kurama said. Otsutsuki are known to breathe in space. Hell Sasuke was shown to be able to breathe in space. That means you could too. But that would mean, Naruto couldn't believe the words coming out of his mouth. That would mean we have to go to the moon in the future to seek this Tonari guy out. He's an Otsutsuki though, can we trust him? He was desperate for his eyes, I can only wonder why. Gyuki stated. Maybe a dojutsu like the old man sage of the six paths. Then it's a risk I'll have to take. Naruto nodded. First things first, let's destroy this Shinju root before it kills the rest of the world. As he rested his palm against the trunk, a hoarse shout stopped him. Turning around, he came to find almost 15 white zetsu of all shapes and sizes. Some deformed while others were stuck, merged into an amalgamation of sorts with multiple heads and 2 long but stocky legs. The zetsu in the front though, wore armor of wood and metal, holding a steel katana, barely cleaned and rusting at dangerous rates. Don't do it. The lead zetsu cried. We've tried to protect it for Kagaya. For mother, please don't destroy it. We need it to make more, to build the army she needed. The Shinju will destroy Earth. Naruto shouted. What kind of fool do you take me for? The root is harmless to the world at large. The zetsu responded with the same heat and volume. All it does is take the dead trees and leaves, bushes and animals, and turns them into more zetsu. The humans and their factories and industry and even their wars, their damn cars do more damage to the world than this Shinju root ever has. Kagaya-sama made us to fight for her and her Earth. She made us to defend the people she loved from the likes of her clan. Don't do this. Don't listen to them, Naruto-kun. Matabi said with a hiss. Zetsu are born from us. You can sense their negativity just as well as we do. The Shinju was made for only one purpose. To destroy and suck the life of planets, no matter who lives on it, no matter what life is like. Kagaya knew this and did her best to stop the Shinju from destroying all life, but she knew that it needed power to sustain itself. I disagree, Kurama said, surprising the rest of the Biju. I don't trust the captain because of how pure he is. But these zetsu, they've managed to survive, despite how deformed and hideous they are. They've survived Spanish invasion. They've survived bombings, invasions and civil wars, all the while protecting the Shinju root. They could have invaded the rest of the world, feeding the Shinju with more people as fuel, but they didn't. Kurama having a change of heart. I must be dreaming. Son Goku nearly choked on his spit. I'm sorry, Matabi, if Kurama is willing to see good in those things, I can too. I'm with Matabi. Isobu and Chome nodded, hobbling over to the two-tailed cat. Kurama is right. Seiken slithered by, standing beside Kurama and Son Goku. Gyuki rolled over to the great fox. We may have had our differences, but Kurama is right, in this instance. I believe their trials. And with the total retelling of shinobi history and the revelation that Kagaya was truly a goddess and a benevolent being, these zetsu were her army that she had no other choice but to make. Having more would be beneficial. This isn't right. Kokuo sighed, galloping over to Matabi's side. It was our mission to never become the Shinju again. We fought against it and denied it at every chance we could get. Leaving a piece of what we once were to survive as an insult to the brave men and women of millennia past who put their lives on the line to stop the Shinju. Damn the zetsu and damn the Otsutsuki. We don't need the zetsu army and we especially do not need the Shinju. All Biju glared at one another, continuing their debate. All the while, Naruto stood in the center of it all. Black Gudodama surrounding his back, 9 in total, and a black shakuho in his hands. The blond boy glowed with the six paths sage chakra flowing off of his body in droves. While the world outside waited patiently, frozen in a limbo of time, the debates in the mindscape continued with a fever pitch. When we first found the Shinju, you were so adamant about destroying it, Kurama. Matabi shouted. Why would you change your mind so suddenly? You saw as well as I that there is another Utsutsuki out there and on the moon. He confirmed our fears that the Utsutsuki would be returning. If revamping the army that Kagaya made, we should have a better chance to fight back. Oh, don't give me that bullshit, Kurama. Chome responded with a glare. You defeated 5 of us on your own, and that was when there was only half of you inside Naruto. If the Utsutsuki come, you could face them on your own if you wanted to. I wasn't by myself when I faced the Geto Mazo. I had the Shinobi Alliance and Gyuki beside me. Which, if I remember correctly, I was defeated and ripped from Naruto's stomach. Kurama hissed back. It's only because of Kagaya's strange revelation that we were all reunited with our full bodies and chakra within Naruto. She did it for a reason. I can't believe that I'm hearing you, Kurama, the great nine-tailed fox, act on someone else's command. Isobu scoffed. I remember you bossing us around and treating us like vermin all those generations ago. Now look at you. When you have a chance to become someone other than what you're commanded, you fall back into line. If you have something to say, Turtle Soup, don't be afraid to say it. Kurama warned. While Naruto won't let us fight, I'm certain he won't mind a little brawl to settle some unsaid business. Here we go again. Son Goku frowned. Enough. All of us arguing like we always did. We are doing nothing but putting ourselves in a position to be separated and caged again. While I hope Naruto would never something like that to us, I feel there will only be so much he can take. Enough with the shouting and let's get this decision underway. The only Biju left to make the decision is Shukaku. 8 gigantic heads turned towards the Sand Tanuki, picking his nose with his burly tail. The beast didn't even seem to care or notice, almost as if he were drifting to sleep. Shukaku yawned, pulling the tail from his nostril and sighed in defeat. I side with neither of you, he said. The 8 Biju face faulted, nearly feeling the urge to screech at the Tanuki. How can you disagree with us both? I don't like any of you. Shukaku responded with the same jagged smirk he always wore. Also, if I sided with either one of you, I get shouted at and pushed around because I'm the one with the smallest number of tails. Matabi, you talk of fighting the Shinju and destroying it entirely. Kurama, you say use the root, but you're both missing the point. In the end, it's not your decision. It's Naruto's. The only reason he hasn't said shit is because he's waiting for you all to shut the hell up and have a normal discussion for once. Thank you, Shukaku. Naruto chuckled. Strange to hear the psychopathic one speak so sanely. While I appreciate y'all taking the time to debate and try to decide for me, in the end, Shukaku's right, it's my decision in the end. We need the army to face off against Thanos, who probably didn't wait for Kagaya to return. He built his army. What we got at New York was just a small droplet in the ocean that is his military power. While we could have probably fought off the entire Chidori army for a few days, his army is probably legion, near never ending. After a few days, we'd run out of chakra, energy and strength, and then Earth would fall regardless. Also, Chidori were pretty much cannon fodder. Thanos no doubt has super-powered individuals in his forces, people who can meet the Avengers toe-to-toe, and probably one of us if they tried hard enough. Naruto turned his Shikuho into a Gudodama ball once more. We need an army of our own. The governments of Earth, the US, UK, the EU, and even the commies in China, none of them will be willing to pool their resources together to build that army. Who will then? Matabi asked. Tonari will. Naruto nodded. I will find him, tell him of my plan, and then we will remove the root of the Shinju and find somewhere suitable to put it. No way am I going to let the Shinju grow on our home turf. It'll be a beacon for the Utsutsuki to come flying to us. Where do you intend to put it? Kurama was skeptical. Anywhere but here on Earth. Naruto scowled. The damn thing will kill Earth if we make it use more than just decaying biomes. Tonari said he's on the moon and that he's watched the universe and the galaxy and Earth for untold lengths of time. Surely he knows some unassuming planet stuck without any chance of populating with sentience of single-cell organisms. Wait, you want to give birth to another Shinju? Kurama asked, nearly appalled by the notion. We need an army. The Zetsu come from the Shinju. But all the people who died to stop it. That's why we are taking it far from Earth. Naruto was quick to remind. The Shinju makes Zetsu. They are literally walking trees with emotions. I didn't hear this response when I dispatched 20 of them 5 minutes ago. They are born to die, and from what I've noticed, they're a hive mind. A sarcastic hive mind, but a hive mind nonetheless. They don't eat. They don't breathe. They don't sleep. They aren't even alien. They're plants with enough sentience to speak sentences and fight. They know their reason for existence, and Kagaya knew as well. I see. Kurama nodded his head, realizing what the blonde was saying. A slave army. They are far from slaves. Naruto rolled his eyes. They did this themselves. They bred their own army for our return. I'm not going to waste a resource when it has practically landed in my lap. We have the perfect chance to stop Thanos and the Otsutsuki. Don't you think it'll be a good idea to use it? Yes, but the implications, the lack of morality behind it, Saiken whimpered, his childlike voice displaying his pain. It feels wrong. Fine. Naruto shouted, running a hand through his blonde hair. I was tasked by Kagaya to protect Earth, and now, I'm hit with all of these revelations and truths that I thought I would never find after leaving the past behind. It's getting so heavy and I'm getting so overwhelmed. Naruto-kun. Matabi shuffled forward, a black and blue flaming tail caressed his body. No matter your decision, we will stand beside you. Save the Shinju route or not, we will agree to you and fight for you anyway. You're not fighting for me, you're fighting beside me, Matabi. We're partners, and if you disagree with me, tell me that I'm doing wrong and let me know what I can do to improve. Naruto sighed. Having 9 voices repeating everything I say like a mindless echo would drive me insane. As you wish, Naruto-kun. Kokuo nodded her dolphin head. If you save the Shinju, I just want you to know that I will strongly disagree with your choice, but in the end, it's your choice. Having an army of Zetsu would be nice when it comes to facing off against the forces of the galaxy abroad, but what cost are we willing to pay to have that army? To protect Earth at any cost. That was the mission. Son Goku frowned. Any cost. Drawing his consciousness from his mindscape, he looked at the small force of Zetsu. They slowly dropped their weapons, letting them clank and split as they touched the stone ground. One by one, their knees hit the ground as well, even the dilapidated giants among the horde. Their faces contorted in agony as they did, but they fought through the pain anyway, just to show the Uzumaki why they were doing this. The lead Zetsu removed his helmet, revealing a damaged face with cuts and mauled skin. Half of its green-topped head was removed, almost clawed off. Naruto-sama. The Zetsu said. I swear to you, we no longer wish to destroy. It was a ruse to give birth to Kagaya, our mother, once again to save Earth. But after her final declaration was made, we knew what we had to do. We swore that if you were ever to find us again, we would serve you as we served Mother. Naruto stood still, almost frozen where he was. How do I know that you aren't lying to me? The last time I faced White Zetsu, they turned friend against friend and sowed the seeds of chaos into the battlefield. Tens of thousands were slaughtered because of your tactics. The lead Zetsu pulled a wakizashi from seemingly nowhere. The creature sliced its own arm off with one fell swoop. It bit its lip, trying to fight back the searing pain it received. Picking up its severed appendage, the Zetsu tossed it toward the Uzumaki and bowed. That arm is my sacrifice for you and my clones. We cannot bleed, but I can remove my limbs for you. The Zetsu twirled its knife about, letting the tip of the blade rest against its abdomen. I will give my life if it proves. There is no need for that, Zetsu. Naruto said, raising his gloved hands. You can put the knife down. You've made your stance pretty clear. Stand. Damn it. The horde of Zetsu clones rose to their feet, some stumbling as they did, their legs premature or completely deformed. Those that were perfectly fine, wore wood and steel armor made in the crudest of ways. It was almost as if it was melted together using ninjutsu, or forged together without taking into consideration how forging armor is done. Nevertheless, the golden fox had his work cut out for him. Nodding to the lead Zetsu, he motioned the creature toward him. Yes, Naruto-sama, I'm not calling you Zetsu. Naruto said. I'm gonna call you Kenji, yes. The first field marshal of my forces. You seem to be the most fit and healthy. I want you to gather what Zetsu you have and go back into hiding. The Shinju root will be removed safely without tampering with its integrity. We will find a new suitable home for it and use that barren planet as a seedbed. You understood, Naruto-sama. Kenji bowed his scarred head. One by one, the Zetsu horde phased underground. A force of almost 80 Zetsu disappeared from sight, making the boy's skin crawl. He turned to the great pointed root sticking out like a sore thumb. With a quick thought, he sped through hand seals and slammed his palms upon the dirt. Calligraphy in different characters appeared, stretching across the field covering the Shinju root and the trees at the base of it. As the calligraphy grew dark and thickened, the foliage of green and varying colors began to appear, covering the root, hiding it from sight. Not yet. A few months later, Vanaheim. Smoke rose into the air, blocking the orange sun from sight. Men and women shouted, clashing blades with blades. The sparks and the songs of singing steel deafening to the wounded sprawled along the field of battle. Gunfire riddled the dirt as bullets, energy blasts and even harpoons lodged, dug and punctured men, women and barricades. It was chaotic nightmare, but even nightmares held a light at the end of the tunnel of darkness. Mercy. A soldier could be heard shouting over the gunfire and explosions rocking the battlefield. I need a healer. Suddenly, appearing through the haze of warfare, like the Valkyrie of legend, a great winged silhouette blocked the sun. Descending over the battlefield, a woman, judging by her curves and long hair tied together into a nice bun, landed. On her back, a strange contraption and wings stretched out, blasting wind and chakra unlike any other in every direction. Marauders and other forces of malcontent were sent flying, crashing into one another and the ruins of their campsite. As the woman repositioned, the wings whirred and flapped to life, hoisting her off her feet. The mythical energy called chakra flowed through the metallic wings, nearly drying the soldier's mouth completely. She hovered along, revealing beautiful pink hair and the sharpest emerald eyes he had ever seen. Cutting her chakra to her wings, the woman landed beside him, pressing a hand against his chest, covering his body in such a soothing aura, he nearly passed out into an endless dream. Mercy. Another soldier roared. Our healer has come. The Asgardians roared with pride, fighting harder and fiercer as the name was spread. Sakura is among us. Mercy has come. Smirking to herself, the armies of marauders gathered, flooding the battlefield with their numbers and weapons. The Asgardians roared songs of victory, beating shields with blades and meeting armor with their flashing blades. Dodging a missile and a few bullets and harpoons, she hoisted the wounded Asgardian soldier into her arms and took off into the air, dropping him off at the Asgardian front line, just behind their barricades. Lady Sakura. The lieutenant saluted. Thank you for saving him. We'll get him to a healer as soon as we can. Don't thank me yet, Trigue. The battle isn't over yet. Sakura smiled, wiping the dirt from her cheeks. Snapping at attention, the sound of the Bifrost rumbled in the skies above. Seeing the rainbow-colored energy slam into the field brought a smirk to her dirty, but beautiful face. I'm off to save more wounded. Take care and don't be afraid to call me if the marauders make it through our battle lines. With a blast of chakra, the wings activated once more, lifting her into the air. Trigue, the commander of their camp, had never gotten used to such a sight. Popping his knuckles, he lifted the wounded Asgardian, thankful for Mercy's arrival. Thank the Allfathers. Mercy, may you never leave us. Sakura calmly walked across the glowing rainbow bridge of Asgard. The great golden city she had grown accustomed to, only seemed far more grandiose than any word or tale could describe as the days bled away. From the training fields filled with warriors slashing and swiping about, to the pubs, the taverns and the halls populated by drinking Asgardians, she couldn't be surprised honestly. While it was no more than midday, there was always time to drink mead and ale when it came to the Asgardians. Tightening her hold on the chakra strings, the frost giant they transported grunted, stumbling over his boots. The young woman smiled at the towering blonde prince, finding his calming smile a relief. Standing before his family, his people, was something she wasn't expecting so soon. Her emerald eyes gazed at the steps they traversed, the entrances they passed and the endless walkways that snaked about the glittering, golden city. From the waterways, ships floated by, to the skylines, Asgardian patrol ships zoomed about. It was unlike anything she'd seen. Sakura. Thor called. You must be excited. After fighting across the 9 realms and fighting off the Chidori. Excited isn't exactly the word I'd use. The girl giggled. Don't worry. After retaking Vanaheim again, you are well deserving of rest and good drink. The prince declared. Hundreds of Asgardian warriors cheered with him. Mercy. They called you. Those wings my father gave you haven't let you down yet. If I may have an opinion, they are quite gaudy to look at. Sakura yanked the chakra string, rattling the Asgardian steel chains that bound Loki. No one asked. Now shut up before I seal that mouth shut again. Thor cackled, slapping his hand on Loki's back, forcing him along. Move along, brother. We've seen firsthand the things she can do. Go on ahead, Thor. I want to look at this place a little longer, Sakura smiled. After receiving nothing more than a nod and directions to go, the Asgardian regiments disbanded and walked past her, bowing and giving praise to her strength. Something she wasn't used to. Staring as the armies cheered and declared their intentions for drink and feasts, she wondered if that was what remained for them if they stayed behind in their own timeline. Fists clenched and shook in their gloves, rattling the chainmail hiding under her pauldrons. Drink and feasts. Sakura couldn't fight the smile. Ever since they left their time behind, ever since they decided to fight their crusade, rest was the last thing on her mind, let alone feasts and drink. Her eyes glanced away, turning to the stars that glimmered above them. They were out there. Her friends and the man she loved. They were light years away, living and fighting. She could only assume they were doing their best, fighting and surviving in their new scenarios. Sasuke, how is it out there? Music hummed between buildings and winding streets. It was a sweet tune, one of joy and jubilant cry. Their wars were over. Their struggles had finally come to an end. The peace that the 9 realms had forgotten had returned. Thinking to herself, she didn't expect the marauders, the roving bands of space pirates, alien invaders, they were defeated too easily. It was almost a game in a way. The wings on her back twitched slightly, lifting her body off the ground. Arriving at the palace of Asgard, she was escorted along by members of Asgard's noble Einherjar. There were many noble Aesir that had come to witness the trial of the frost giant. Some whispered about him, while most whispered of her and her power. Pulling Loki along, she removed the fuinjutsu that bound his mouth shut, immediately receiving one of his distasteful insults. Mother, have I made you proud? Loki smiled. Frigga, however, shook her head. Loki, please don't make this worse. Sakura could only stay silent as the interaction went. Loki gave the woman a look. Define worse. Enough. I will speak with the prisoner alone. Walking forward and standing at attention, he was brimming with arrogance. I don't really understand what all the fuss is all about. You will be silent. Odin's voice was stern and cold. Do you not truly feel the gravity of your crimes? Wherever you go, there is war, ruin and death. I came down to Midgard to rule the people of Earth as a benevolent god, just like you. We are not gods. We're born, we live, we die. Just like humans do. Give or take 5,000 years. All of this, because Loki desires a throne. Sakura noticed this hit a mark. It was my birthright. Odin, however, was not impressed. Your birthright was to die as a child, cast out on a frozen rock. If I had not taken you in, you would not be here. Then, for the sake of it all, just swing it. As the jabs continued and the shouting grew in volume, a strong hand rested on her shoulder, snapping her from her trance. Sakura, go wait at the training fields. When Loki is dealt with, my father and I will meet you there. There was a hiss, a soft blowing gust of wind. She shot into the air, blitzing across the city at speeds only met by the warships of Asgard. The sun reflected off of her armor, gleaming like rays of light. Zipping between the golden skyscrapers and towers of the great city, she came to a smooth halt, spreading her wings, gathering air between each golden feather. Wind sped away, whispering as she landed as quietly as a ninja should. Members of the Einherjar trained in the fields, their bow staves and swords glowing with powerful shocks with each strike and swing they made. They moved fast, dipping between attacks with practiced motion. She watched their movements, entranced with their style, using shields as both a defense and a weapon. She couldn't remember any shields among the shinobi during her time period. It was a welcome change. Turning towards the jutting platform, Thor and his father, the esteemed and wise King Odin Borson. They were towering men with almost matching red capes. There was something about the way they stood over the people they watched. It wasn't condescending as she would have thought royalty would, it was as if they were a father and son looking upon their family. Down below in the training fields, those who rested and recovered from their fatigue would occasionally glance in their direction, basking in their radiant glow, spying the crimson capes they wore. It was then that she realized, she watched these training men for hours. She must have missed the trial Loki had. Certainly, it must have been quick. Before she could leave, however, she caught eye of Thor's giant waving hand motioning her to come toward them. Quickly nodding, the wings on her back absorbed her chakra coming to life. Ignoring the cheers and the calls of her new name, Mercy, she smirked and took into the air, letting the wings hiss and creak as she sped through the airways of training field, even dodging the racing Aesir warships. Landing beside the two men, she bowed deeply, letting the wings collapse into her backpack. Your Grace, Thor. She bowed respectively. What can I help you with? Lady Sakura, heiress apparent of my old friend Utsutsuki Kagaya. Odin smiled. How are the wings? My father had them made in the event Kagaya had a daughter. Sadly, he never got to see it used. Are they serving you well? I've heard many stories from the Einherjar and my son. They work wonderfully, Your Grace. Sakura beamed. It makes it easier to travel through battlefields and heal those who need it. The Vanir were quite ecstatic to see my powers again. I take it Kagaya did something similar. Yes, I remember it as if it were yesterday. Odin chuckled, motioning her to follow. It was many thousand years ago, sometime after the defeat of the Dark Elves and the removal of the ether from their hands. Vanaheim was under attack once again by rebellious forces that wanted my father off the throne. Wars are tiresome, even ones as noble as his own, and the biomes, the topography was shifted, tearing itself apart, until a young woman with horns and a third eye appeared with gifts of wealth and prosperity. I remember seeing the things she could do, and even my father, a man who'd seen a great many things in his time, was surprised. What happened afterwards? Sakura asked curiously. Well, my father saw it right to ally with her. Power as great as her own was hard to find outside of Asgard, or anywhere in the universe for that matter. Odin responded. It was tense talk of politics and offers from both sides being rejected and accepted. There were moments where I felt the talks had fallen apart. After all, I was but Thor's age at the time. She, however, had a tongue of silver and a mind as sharp as steel. There was a reason many feared her. Asgard, however, would not be her enemy, and we would help her in her conquests to protect Midgard, her proclaimed home. In the conquests, however, my father was slain by Kree berserkers with the help of Dark Elf remnants who worked as mercenaries. Dark Elves, Kree, Sakura pondered. I remember hearing Kagaya speaking of them. How they were the enemies who sought to destroy Earth, or worse, enslave us. As long as I live and the Odin force remains, no enemy of Midgard, of Kagaya will step foot on your home. No outside force will harm her bastion. We have done well to maintain our alliance, and now with your return and that of the rest of her children, surely we can maintain our stance on protecting the Nine Realms. Have you heard of Thanos, Your Grace? Sakura asked. The two men stopped for a moment. That lunatic who searches for the Infinity Stones. Yes, I've heard of him. He invades planets, wipes out half the population, and leaves as if nothing had happened. As noble as we are, I can't declare war on other realms outside the reach of Yggdrasil. It isn't right and not the Aesir way. Let the Mad Titan, as they call him, do as he pleases, but as soon as he steps his feet on Midgard soil, the power of Asgard's fleets and Einherjar will bear upon him with righteous fury. My father and I promised this to Kagaya. I promise this to you, Lady Sakura. I understand. Sakura smiled. Is there anything else that you wanted to speak to me of? Thor nodded and waved his father off. We have received reports from other worlds in the Nine Realms, of the same energy you and Kagaya emit, beginning to come alive. Reports are coming in faster than what we have time to deal with. And I can't send you out there alone, so I, the Warriors 3 and Lady Sif will accompany you in this quest to claim these relics of your people. I don't need an escort. I think I'll be fine. Just give me the. Too late, Mercy. We've already decided. The thick accented voice of Hogun, the Vanir who fought beside her on Vanaheim, sounded. Thor spoke to us about your predicament. Having fought through time and space and still choosing to fight even when you can choose to rest, is admirable. And it can't hurt to have another woman around who can handle a battlefield. Lady Sif smiled warmly. I saw how you dispatched that pair of Cronin. Not even the strongest of the Einherjar would dare to face even one. That's a strength I respect. My sensei used techniques made from earth and stone that had similar build and make as Cronin's. I've smashed through enough in my years under his tutelage to handle my own. Sakura smirked. Well, what's the first world we're traveling to? I'm glad you're confident in your powers because we're going to Rhea, a planet in Nornheim. Thor walked past her, Mjolnir humming slightly. The home planet of the Cronins. I thought the Nornheim didn't like Asgard. Sakura asked. Last time we were here before New York, you and the Warriors 3 had just finished battle with them. Well, after Loki destroyed the Bifrost, a somewhat uncertain peace had formed between our peoples. The rapier-wielding Fandral said. The Cronins are afraid of the power growing from one of their temples and they came to us after hearing of what happened on Midgard and the power of the one they call the Golden Fox. Naruto. Sakura smiled softly. Any word of Sasuke, Thor? None right now, but Heimdall told me that he is safe somewhere in the cosmos. Thor reassured. He is on the hunt for the Infinity Stones as well. I talked to my father about sending help but he refused my requests thus far. Oh well. Sakura's smile dropped. At least he's safe. No need for that kind of attitude. Volstagg cheered. It'll be easy. Cronins may be dull, but they can be reasoned with enough strength in arms. After all, I don't want to be there long. Their delicacies aren't the best. Of course, he'd think of food. Fandral rolled his eyes. Let's get going before the Allfather changes his mind. Activating her wings as Mjolnir spun wildly, Sakura bent her knees, preparing to launch ahead. Letting her emerald eyes trail over to Thor, the prince smirked knowingly nodding as he did. With a flick of his wrist and a burst of chakra, the pair launched through the air, close on each other's heels and wake. Zipping between golden towers and skyscrapers, even the defensive towers and batteries spinning and watching, the pair landed on the Bifrost, the Prince of Asgard arriving first with Sakura only 3 seconds after. Sharing a quick laugh as they always did, they walked into the Bifrost hub, nodding and waving at the ever-watching and quiet Heimdall. I believed in you, Lady Sakura. How could you let me down? Did you really? No. Heimdall simply said. Sakura could only deadpan. I was trying to do what Naruto once told me when you 4 were on Asgard last year. Heimdall simply bowed his head slightly. So, off to Rhea, are we? Yes, we are, Heimdall. Just be ready to bring us back when we call. Rhea was a world filled with all kinds of strange formations, both rock and tree. It was hard for the young Kunoichi to discern the difference between mountain and Cronin. She had never seen sentient beings so large and able to move so smoothly. In all her travels through the cosmos, she was surprised that gravity remained the same in almost every world she encountered, and the fact that she could breathe. Having spent time learning from Thor and from the Asgardian libraries that were filled with untold knowledge, she still couldn't figure the anatomy of the Cronins. Kneeling before a Cronin, her hands were bathed in a light green aura, trying her best to heal the sickness that had befallen the stone being. The Cronin groaned and didn't seem to be taking to the chakra at all, unlike almost every other species she encountered. There were rumors of her power and there were more springing up about her metal wings and what they could do aside from transport. Nevertheless, she ignored their whispers, or what they thought were whispers at that. Cronins were not the quietest of folk. Most of all, she was surprised at the types of Cronin. If a Cronin was born from a volcano, their bodies were igneous, while others were a sturdy, almost completely dense form of stone. The variations were as varied as the very planet's biomes themselves. Wiping the sweat from her brow, she ignored the various Cronin watching her perform her healing techniques to no avail. She even tried opening their chakra points only to find that there were none. The smallest of beings, the rarest of beings, even the bloodthirsty marauders had chakra points somewhere no matter how exotic they may have seemed, but not the Cronin. Sighing in defeat, she could only watch as the Cronin she tried to heal struggled to hold himself together. Pieces of rock tumbled from his body, clicking and clacking over one another before she knew it, the Cronin completely disassembled and fell apart before her eyes. Not a word could be said, not an apology, nor an answer. Those who watched simply nodded their heads and collected the remains, smashing the stones into their own bodies. It was strange to the young Kunoichi, but before she could continue her quest to heal as many of the sick, she could. A loud tap on the tent doorway brought her attention. Lady Sakura, Fandral said. Thor and the Cronin chief want to speak with you. I'll be there. Right away. Rising to her feet, fighting the cramp growing in her legs, chakra flowed into her backpack, letting the wings extend and contract. Energy flowed between the wires and tubes, feeding the contraption, letting her hover just a few inches off the ground without much effort. Exiting the hut she was working in, Cronin villagers and folk parted ways, letting her hover along toward the chief's manor in the center of the village. Situated deep in one of the many rocky valleys of Ria and far from the barbaric wastes that made most of the planet, the Kunoichi moved through the crowd as quickly as she could, ignoring much of their whispers and thoughts on her appearance. Unlike in her own time, where many saw the apprentice of the great slug princess, they saw Mercy, the legendary healer of Kagaia's descent and one of Asgard's most recent and one of their greatest assets on the field. Arriving at the hut, she was led in by a pair of Cronin warriors wielding clubs and metal bludgeons. Walking in, she found Thor sitting in front of a rather decrepit-looking pile of stones, only to realize that it was indeed a Cronin. She internally kicked herself for being so harsh. I see, the Cronin managed to hiss, pebbles and powdery dust escaping what she could assume was the mouth. I can see now. Deep in the wastes, there is a Cronin who grows in strength and power. He has taken a relic from one of our temples, it belonged to the Horned One. What he means is the relic is no longer in their possession. Sakura looked to Thor. The prince sighed. It would seem so. The wastes of Ria are hard to traverse. Not a problem. Sakura turned on her heels, ignoring the rest of the long-winded prose the pile of rocks had to say. Walking through the hut flaps that acted as a door, she channeled chakra through her body before releasing it in every direction. Closing her eyes, she did the same thing once again, this time in wider distances, covering much of the valleys and mountains, even cutting through parts of the barren wastes. She could sense Cronin tribes and rudimentary cities. There were towns with walls and villages that seemed to be buried deep in valleys and cliffs. It was then that she sensed a chakra signature so great, the chakra she sent seemed to be returned twofold, breaking her from her trance. Found it, she said confidently. I don't need Kakashi-sensei, Naruto or Sasuke for this. Thor, Warriors 3 and even Lady Sif. Traveling into the wastes is difficult if not all of us can fly. The only one who could possibly keep up would be Thor, but even then, chakra is something else, and if a Cronin has chakra, I don't want any unnecessary bloodshed among my friends. Understood. We'll protect the village until your return. Hogan nodded, releasing his flail. Godspeed, Lady Sakura. Bursting through the sunny blue skies of Ria, she flew through voluminous clouds and dipped between each ray of sunlight and bird in the air. As quickly as she hoped, Thor was right behind her, following close in her wake. Before she knew it, however, the clouds had grown thicker, sickly and full of thunder and lightning. Tearing through clouds, Sakura felt her lungs tearing apart. It would seem that even pebbles and stones seemed to permeate the air in the wastes. Chakra was released from the diamond on her forehead, filling her body and chakra coils with healing energy, reforming her lungs and disposing of the debris. As she descended, however, a large boulder was seen hurling towards her at incredible speeds. Before she could react, a great bolt of lightning ripped through the projectile, shattering it into pebbles. It wasn't enough, as several more boulders seemed to take its place, roaring through the sky trying to knock her out. Quickly releasing her chakra from the wings, she descended in a freefall. Arrows, bolts and blaster bolts followed the boulders. Using her ninja training, she grabbed the boulders now that she was prepared and ready. Jumping from one to another, she repositioned them, letting them shield her from the weapons of the Cronins below. Their aim was not the best, but she knew that a ranged battle was just the beginning with them. Scanning the field, there seemed to be no more than 100 Cronin of varying size and make. There were many, however, that were armed with blaster rifles and rocket launchers. Easy weapons to dodge thanks to Naruto's training. Whipping between each projectile, she landed beside the first gathered group of Cronin. Their armor was rudimentary at best, reminding her of the bands of marauders she faced in the different realms of Vanaheim. Without another thought, she launched her fist forward, shattering the first rock man who stood before her. One by one, She shattered them as they came at her, fists glowing with chakra, feeding her strength with every swing and kick. While they were indeed much stronger than her, so strong in fact, when one managed to get a hit, her chakra was still struggling to heal the broken bones. As the fight continued, Thor arrived, lightning bursting from the sky and Mjolnir, shattering all that remained, save for the Cronin who claimed the supposed relic. He was burly beast of a Cronin, standing almost 10 feet tall and made of the largest stones she'd seen. In his hands, a metallic staff of some sort seemed to hum and vibrate. The staff seemed to have a chakra signature of its own, however, she could not recognize the device. Hey, do you even realize what you've taken? Sakura called. All she got was a grunt for a response. Don't bother. Thor spun Mjolnir. This Cronin doesn't seem to speak. It was too simple. Sakura watched as Thor barreled down on the Cronin, the famous hammer ready to beat upon the stone being. This warband was small for Cronin standards, it wasn't even a warband by Marauder standards. Having faced many during the years since the Battle of New York, she knew better than to let this be as it was. Wait, Thor. Suddenly, rock golems rose from the dirt and the rocky formations around them, in the hundreds. But unlike the Cronin she defeated, they were permeating with chakra. Little by little they were outnumbered as more chakra seemed to flow from the staff and into the surrounding area. Thor, however, was going too fast. Before she knew it, explosions, rocks, ninjutsu and chakra was thrown in all directions of varying element and potency. She hadn't seen such raw power since the war. Bringing her fists together and chakra into her wings, she followed after the Asgardian prince, dodging the incoming attacks as best as she can. There was a slight sizzle, a static shock of sorts as one of the stones hissed by her. Lightning chakra. Sakura didn't understand. Of all the warriors she'd faced, all the enemies she'd defeated, she hadn't faced anyone like this. Growing serious, she braked her wings, blowing wind and chakra toward the Cronin still battling with Thor, somehow using the staff to defend against Mjolnir. Chakra and lightning shot from each impact, breaking and shattering one another's stance, leaving neither open to attack. Hearing rocks tumbling over one another, she spun around, punching and kicking at the stone golems, she could only assume were some form of rudimentary earth release ninjutsu casted by the staff. Letting the creations crumble, she dashed ahead, fist ready and glowing, bashed the Cronin where it wasn't paying attention, sending it flying in 1,000 pieces. Thor whipped around, Mjolnir covered in lightning, confused. Why didn't you do that to begin with? The prince asked incredulously. I was thinking. Thinking. Yes. Thor sighed, letting the energy dissipate. What now? I examine this thing. Sakura now held the strange staff, feeling the chakra within. It was powerful and unlike any other weapon she had seen used during the Fourth Great War. Taking the staff, power rushed through her veins, filling her with all kinds of insanity. Shaking where she stood, her eyes snapped shut, hearing screams in the distance, rushing winds beating against her ears and even the explosions of some unassuming battlefield. Thor moved to try and save her, but a powerful dome of chakra surrounded her. He shouted, reaching out to her, but the great multicolored beam of the Bifrost appeared, covering him. Sakura screamed heinously, trying to let go of the staff, but there was nothing she could do. Her hands would not let it go. Just as Thor disappeared, the Bifrost appeared once again, several times in the distance, and upon her dome of chakra. But instead of transporting her, it was beaten back, shattering upon the shield of chakra. She couldn't handle the pressure of it all as the dome began to compress around her. Bones cracked, shoulders barred and the staff itself began to collapse into itself as the dome brought her to her knees. No longer were the sounds as intelligible as battle and roaring explosions, it was nothing more than a high-pitched squeal, a white noise that deafened her to the world of Rhea and the thunderstorms brewing in the dark skies. She couldn't fight it anymore. Just as the noises reached a fever pitch, she opened her eyes to nothing but serenity and silence. No longer were the skies filled with dark, voluminous clouds, she was underground. The canvas of sky was shrouded under a cavernous ceiling dripping with stalactites. Her eyes watched the new world around her, a dark, dank and filled strange structures carved from what seemed cliff faces. There were doorways, rooms and balconies. Even a pavilion of sorts with a rotten tree, rested in the center of the strange area. Whipping around, staff still in hand, she called out through the void, her voice echoing back to her in the emptiness. Thor, she asked. Where am I? Walking along, her footsteps only seemed to echo back at her. Stones were unturned, pavement was left disheveled and unkempt. Vines and rotting green were seen wrapping the great city she had found herself in. She could only assume it was some sort of ancient city. There were too many buildings around her to denote anything else. There were wells, empty and filled with dirt. Restaurants and street shops that were left to ruin. It was a nightmare. As she walked, her feet slapped against something that truly terrified her. Reaching down and sifting through rotten leaves and debris, she found a rusted, degraded kunai knife. What the hell? Rising to her feet, she sheathed the kunai and activated her wings. Chakra flowed through the backpack, spreading the appendages and levitating her off the ground. There was something different about this place, one that didn't sit well with her. Avoiding the lurking feeling that she wasn't alone, she hovered about, keep her fists clenched and even activated the 100 healing technique. Journeying through empty stairwells and decrepit stone bridges, she came across something she didn't expect. Sitting on a lone bridge, a strange monolith of sorts. Beneath it were the same markings the Bifrost would leave behind whenever it was used. Floating toward the monolith, she examined its structure and purpose. While the structures built in the city were clearly carved by what seemed to be ancient humanity, this thing was far from it. There were markings that didn't seem to match any language she had come across when she scoured the libraries of Asgard for any information about Earth. Suddenly, the monolith opened, screaming with a deep baritone, rumbling the underground city. Boulders and stalactites fell from the ceiling above. Jumping back and dodging falling debris, she witnessed something within the monolith. A weird, almost liquid substance resided within, glowing an ominous crimson and black. It whipped about, almost alive in its actions. It was calling to her. Sakura gasped as great buildings cracked from the cliff face and the cave walls, collapsing and crashing into the stalagmites below. The cave she was in was beginning to fall in on itself if she let it continue. Channeling her strength to her arms and hands, she rushed for the monolith, trying her hardest to shut the damn thing. Everything she did came with no effect. It resisted her strength. It resisted her attempts, and the strange substance within only seemed to revel in her distress. Haruno Sakura, take the ether. A voice sounded in her head. Do it, child of mine. Kagaya, Sakura asked. She was met with silence. The bridge began to collapse, so without much choice, she threw her hand in, letting the substance rush into her palm. Removing her hand, she backed away as the monolith snapped shut, slamming so powerfully, she was blown back. If it weren't for her wings, she was certain she would have fallen to the stalagmites below. Even with how great her shinobi skills had gotten, there was no way she could have dodged the stalactites like Sasuke or Naruto could. Looking at her palm though, the ether had formed a small, crimson stone. It hummed slightly in her palm, retaining a strange physical form. But like everything else in her life since leaving her time behind, nothing was as simple as that. It melted into her hand, burning at the touch. Frantically, she tried to wipe it off, but it only seemed to spread to her other hand, slowly but surely bleeding into her bare skin, searing at the flesh as it entered her pores. She could feel it, screaming, rampaging through her veins. Before she knew it, there was nothing but darkness.